Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for one of the most depressed and deflated player ratings and live reaction live streams I've ever done. Because it's other than maybe on occasion against Man City and when we lost 3-0 to Bayern Munich on a Frank Lampard, I very, very rarely felt us this clearly second best for a whole game. Like, I understand what we did to begin with in terms of, being a bit more like defensively set up and making sure they don't score in the first half. And we did okay at that. We didn't really allow them many chances. Fair enough. But then we concede one of the stupidest corner goals I've ever seen. Like, obviously it's Kai's fault, and we'll get to that later. But when we hit corners like that, I swear we have never scored a goal. Like, that is such a bad corner from them. And somehow they score from it. It's ridiculous. How can you score from a corner that bad? How can we let that happen? And then, okay, we were a little bit like, Arsenal are really good and stuff, so we're a bit more careful and try not to get, too early goals against us against Brighton last week. So I understand that maybe a bit concerned about that. But then we go 1-0 down. And our efforts of attacking, are so embarrassing. And when I say efforts of attacking, I don't just mean the attackers. I mean the tactics. Why do we not have a left flank? Wouldn't it be quite useful to have two sides to attack on? I mean, I'm just trying to suggest it, Mr. Potter. I don't know. I find that a bit confusing. I tweeted this during the game. The way you beat a team, a good team and a good defense is by overloading one side, switching the play to the other side, having someone there who can either with a 1v1 or with a cross from space create a chance. That's how you do that. But if you only have one side, how can you ever switch sides? I don't understand. I do not understand. It's mind-boggling to me. The midfield, what are they even doing? We lost every single second ball. We had zero, what's the word? Just control. There's a lack of effort and ability. To me, there was 2, maybe 3 outfield players who I didn't think were below average today. And those 3 were not far above average either. Most of them were, if anything, average. But pretty much the entire team was just awful. And I'm struggling so much because, like I say, we were awful in every sense of the word. The problem is, and I was speaking to Clutch about this just before we went live, we have so many goddamn injuries. I miss Reece James. And in a game like today, I miss N'Golo Kante. I miss them so much, man. But it's not just about with the players that are unavailable. The fact that Chukwuemeka couldn't start Wednesday, that's a problem for today. The fact that Kovacic has to start so many games, even though he's injured, is a problem all the time. Why Kovacic starts so many games and then he's just about not fit to start against Arsenal, where we know how much we rely on Kovacic in the first place. Koulibaly, I'm not sure if he was just not picked or if he's not fully fit. I don't fucking know. But it's a serious issue. The fact that obviously we're missing Fofana means we constantly change between back 3, back 4. I don't think Potter would be changing that quite as much if we had the same defenders available all the time. But because we have different defenders available all the time, it's a nightmare. It's honestly a nightmare. And our attackers, well, they're all just shit, really. Kai can't make the simplest of just crosses, cutbacks. There was a cutback so on to Aubameyang or to Mount. Both were valid options in that moment. And he hits a cross to the far post to no one. But also so high that even if there was anyone at the far post, no one would have gotten to it anyway. Aubameyang had 8 touches before he was subbed off. And he was kind of playing left wing, but he didn't stay at the left wing. Was that tactical instruction? Was that him being a weirdo? I don't know. Raheem Sterling, now he played 2 or 3 decent passes, especially to Kai when Kai won on the few occasions he made good runs. But otherwise, what does Sterling do? He can't take anyone on. He can't hold the ball. He doesn't really create chances. He doesn't do anything. Mount as an 8 at the moment, my God, are you shit, man. You're losing every second ball. As soon as you get the ball, you pass it straight to the opponent. And when you don't lose the ball straight away, you pass it backwards. Those are the only options that we have at the moment. Ruben is bro, you're big, you're reasonably quick, you're great on the ball. Where is that? Keeps falling over, losing the ball, being way too slow. And I'm okay, sometimes you need to be slow and collected. I get it. But it's pointless to be slow and controlled when the next guy you give the ball to then loses the ball. Like, Ruben just always laid it to Azpi. I'm like, well, what's Azpi going to do? No one in front of him to give the ball. No one next to him to give the ball. And all he can do is either lose the ball or pass backwards. Well, it's like, I don't understand. But one thing I do want to say before I bring Clutch and Kieran into this, I've seen a lot of people, like whether it's in this chat or whether it's on Twitter, saying, oh, we should have never sacked Tuchel. And I don't want this. I'm not a fan of this whole, as soon as something goes wrong on the Potter, we talk about Tuchel. But if you're going to, then use your brains a little bit. Remember last time we played Arsenal at home when Thomas Tuchel was in charge? With, by the way, a lot less injuries than we have right now. We lost 4-2. We got absolutely smacked 4-2. So, like, let's not talk about these things would never happen under Thomas Tuchel. Again, we got smacked 4-2. 4-2. I know we lost today and we were bad today, but at least it was 1-0. Do you know what I mean? Like people sit here and say, oh, Tuchel is the holy savior and all, do you know what I mean? And Potte's so shit. We're in trouble and Potte's certainly doing things wrong. Absolutely. And I will criticize Potter more than harshly today. But, you know, let's not ignore things. And that's also, by the way, when Arsenal were a lot worse than they are now. Again, just the big difference. Arsenal last season and Arsenal this season. Big difference. How them men play football, the way they pass it out from the back at times. I'm like, excuse me. The last time I saw Chelsea Football Club do that was in 2019 when we had Sarri. And since when can Arsenal pass that way? It's mental. Laurenz, overall, Tuchel had a good record against big teams. That's all well and good. But we haven't beat Arsenal since 2019. Still, just saying, like, don't make these random things up in your heads. Like, you know, talk about the things that are actually topical. I'm so deflated. I'm so depressed. Just please bring the World Cup as soon as you possibly can. If it's down to me, scrap Wednesday, scrap next weekend. Bloody can't wait to get battered by Newcastle next weekend. Just give me the World Cup. Let some players get fit, for the love of God, because this is unbearable at the moment. Honestly, unbearable. As you can see, we're joined by two less regulars at the moment. Clutch is back. Not saying he will be back all the time, but Clutch is back today, which I'm very excited for. And Kieran, who you might have seen on one preview before, can't remember which game the preview was. I'm sorry, Kieran. But he is back for another one because a lot of people that usually come on here at the game today. You know, that's why we're out here with two people that are here less regularly. But Kieran, I'll start with you. First of all, thank you for coming on. I told you just before we went live, I will sit here and waffle. Well, I literally waffled basically by myself for a whole 7 minutes because, yeah, at the start, I just need to get things out. So if you need to get things out, please go. But do you agree with the things I've said? Not obviously, don't touch on everything I said because we'll be here for another half an hour. But it's just deflating. We were the second best team all day, and we frankly didn't stand a chance, quite honestly, other than if, obviously, Kai's awful cross, if that cutback goes where it's supposed to go and we go 1-0 up, that's the only situation which I could have imagined us having a chance. Because for the rest of the game, I'm like, are we supposed to do anything here? The best I was hoping for was the 0-0. And then at the end, maybe we get a scrappy 1-1. But realistically, did that game ever feel like winning? To me, it didn't.
No, I agree. I think we were second best in like every single department today. Going forward, as you said, like I genuinely don't. Did we even have a credible shot? I don't think so. Kai,
we had 5.
Bad.
One on target, but I don't even remember which one that was supposed to be. At some point during the game, the shot showed up on screen.
It was the Kai shot
on target. I was like, when did that happen? I didn't see that.
It was when Kai toe poked it. They counted that as a shot on target.
Oh, instead of crossing it to the man who was just stood with no one marking him.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, no, that makes sense then. And look at that, like XG, 0.24 to 2.38. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised why I don't have quite that much. Like, obviously, the Gabriel Jesus chance, the header. But otherwise, did they have so many big chances? Like Mendy's save was decent against Gabriel Jesus, but my God, just because we're expecting Mendy to concede at the near post, he still shouldn't. Like, I know he's done a lot this season already, but he shouldn't always concede at the near post. Just because he makes an actual good save for once, expected save for once. I'm not sure where the 2.38 come from. But anyway, regardless, 0.24 against 2.38, that tells you more than enough, really. We wouldn't have needed to watch the game, or we could have said the same thing, really. Sorry, Kieran. I'm going on another waffle here. You go, please.
No, it's completely understandable. We were absolutely just dreadful today. I honestly wish I didn't watch the game. It was so boring as a Chelsea fan. We did nothing. We created nothing. Actually, it was just good to watch Arsenal play some nice football because we haven't seen it as a Chelsea fan for a while now. The only thing that's making me slightly happier is Aston Villa are currently beating Man United 2-0. So, yeah. But yeah.
We got Unai Emery. Maybe we should have got him.
The football today was symbolic. And I feel sorry for the people who went to the game.
Yeah. Especially at a 12 o'clock kickoff. Like I was writing about this yesterday in the preview. I was like, what are we doing for 12 o'clock kickoffs? We just played on Wednesday at 8 p.m. How can these athletes be at peak performance at basically completely different times of the day? How is that even supposed to work? I don't know. But hey, Clutch, thank you for being back on. We've missed you. But unfortunately, it's not a happy day. So, I would certainly be happier to have you back on had we won. So now we're just going to sit here and, try to talk ourselves out of depression. But it just was bad from top to bottom, wasn't it? Like, we'll get to the 2 or 3 players that I thought were somewhat acceptable today. But like I said, the large majority were just dreadful.
Yeah, I mean, I picked a hell of a game to come back to, didn't I? It's almost like I'm the bad luck here. Yeah. So my apologies, everyone. This is my fault.
But you weren't here for Brighton, so
That is true. I was not here for Brighton. But no, I mean, it's just like you guys have said already. We were second best in every single facet of the game. Why we had one side only in attack, why the left side was non-existent for the entire game makes absolutely no sense to me. Because, I mean, whether it be Saka or Martinelli, they were both very dangerous today. So why did we not emulate that? Why do we have such a problem doing all these things? And it's like, I know a lot of people are talking about Tuchel, and it's like, okay, fair enough. I get everybody loves Tuchel. I get it. He won you the Champions League, but we were on a downward trend just as much as we were with Tuchel as we were with Potter. It's not very much different. We're not winning the same games. You forget Tuchel was 3-3-1 when he got sacked, I think. And he lost to both Leeds and Southampton. So, and Dynamo Zagreb. So telling me that, oh yeah, Tuchel would have done better. I'm sorry. Tuchel was on the downswing, bro. Like, I like Tuchel, don't get me wrong, but he lost the dressing room. It's been over for him. Get over it. We got to move on. Potter has not been great. Nobody should say that differently. It's not very much better with Potter right now. But it's my problem is right now we're not getting it right from the start. And players who look like they can't be bothered, whether it be Sterling, whether it be Mount, Kai Havertz, or even Aubameyang, who had 8 touches today. At least it wasn't 90 minutes that he had 8 touches, like Laurenz told me beforehand. But it's not good. It's these things that and the injuries do affect things. I mean, I don't think N'Golo Kante, if we had N'Golo Kante, I'd be a lot more worried, or less worried, I guess, because a player like N'Golo Kante is still on his best day, one of the best players in the world. You just don't get that as often. But it's so clear how much we're missing Reece James. The fact that we don't go for, like, I don't know why we didn't go for another right back over the summer. Makes no sense. And the fact that we don't have this idea, we always like, oh, let's go get Leao for 100 million later this year. No, go get a fucking DM. That's what we need. We need more midfielders. Stop. We have a whole bunch of attackers. We can go for an attacker some other time. We need a DM, and it's far beyond that point. Frank Lampard said it 3 years ago when he wanted Declan Rice. We needed a DM, and here we are 3 years later, and we still can't get it. And that's one of our biggest problems is we do not have the ability to change things when it comes down to it. And that's it.
It's true, mate. It's absolutely true. And it's so problematic because we get things wrong to start with on the one hand. But I was talking about this. We were talking about this yesterday. I was talking about this to people on Twitter, and you and me were talking about it before we went live. In terms of, I agree it's questionable tactics. For me, the main questionable tactics bit is that we don't have a left attacking side and then we tell our left back to stay back. So how can we ever attack on both sides, like you touched on earlier? I personally don't think necessarily that the formation that he chose was that much of the problem, if I'm being perfectly honest, because like we tried a 3-4-3 against United, had a 2-man midfield and got absolutely annihilated by their press. Now, so that's why, okay, I understand not doing that. Then the other option you'd have is playing a 3-5-2, I suppose, where you play 3 at the back, 3 in midfield, and then 2 wing-backs. Problem is, we don't have any good wing-backs available because Cucurella's strength and was certainly not in the attacking third. We know about Aspi, and then you only have 2 attackers. But then when you look at how the game went, I guess it would have probably helped us have a little bit more control, because it's not like we got the ball to any of the 3 attackers we used today anyway. So at that point, you might as well have only had 2, because it can't exactly have made it any worse if you only have 2 of them. If you have 3 and you don't get the ball to them, might as well put another person elsewhere and only have two of them up front who you can't get the ball to. You know what I mean? At least it should make the rest of the game further back in midfield and defensively a little bit easier, I guess. But Kieran, what's your perspective on this? Do you think like the tactics in the sense of formation were wrong today? For me, it's just the whole left side that we just abandoned it. That's to me the part that we got wrong per se.
No, yeah, I think the setup was all right. I mean, by the end of the game, I don't even know what the formation was. Gallagher was just like running around everywhere. I mean, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't good. Mount, it just kind of all folded. And yeah, as you said, we had nothing going forward on the left. Azpi, I actually think he was all right today defensively, but going forward, he's very weak. Sterling kind of just drifts around. I don't know. It just kind of falls into a mess, I think, at sometimes. And we've got players that aren't in the right position, so we're missing players on the other side of the pitch to pass to. And yeah, I think the setup was all right, but the implementation was a bit off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at some point in the first half, to start with, I was very sure that we were playing basically the same setup that we had against Zagreb. Obviously, different personnel to some extent, but the same general setup. But then at some point in the first half, it started to move a little bit. Man was constantly out over here, and it almost felt like it was kind of like a 4-2-2-2 almost. And then Aubameyang was a bit more of Havertz, and then it was one of those. But Mount wasn't here. Mount was just here. And then this whole space was never occupied by anybody, like we were touching on. So I'm not really sure, did we play that weird 4-3-3 all game? Did it turn to a 4-2-2-2 even before the subs? If I'm honest, I'm not perfectly sure, because quite frankly, the players didn't seem to be 100% sure what system we're playing either. Because how can no one occupy the left side? That can't be an instruction. Like, maybe I'm being too nice to Potter by just saying I can't imagine that that's what he wanted us to do, but I just can't. So I'm like, Satya, surely the players must have done something wrong there, because no manager that has any sort of grasp of what's going on would do that in my logic. But maybe I'm wrong and he was doing that, and then I just don't understand why he was, if I'm being perfectly honest. I mean, let's get to a couple of these super chats and before getting into the player ratings themselves. Indefinite saying, no need to do ratings, all of them should be 0. Aside from 3, I'd probably even agree, but yeah, it is what it is. And then we have another one by Mofligerian. Sorry if I butchered that name, but I feel like it's Mofligerian. I have no idea. Can't wait for City 9-0 when Newcastle to humble us. Yeah, we can only hope the City play like the under-10s, really, because otherwise we're screwed. So, that would be fun. Knowing our manager, we probably won't rest anyone anyway. So that's brilliant. And then we have another donation by Mofligerian. Again, sorry for butchering your name. I appreciate all the donations, bro. He says, even if we're getting Kunku or Leao and Trossard, they will turn into Havertz, Mount, Sterling. And Sterling can't shoot, can't pass with ruined players. Clutch. Reaction to that, because this is what I'm starting to feel. It doesn't matter who comes in. They're attackers. Now, I'm not saying Sterling is the perfect attacker, and I was the biggest fan of when we were about to sign Sterling. Now, I got not carried away, but I got sucked into the excitement to some extent, as we all do. It's natural as fans, I think. But when the rumor first came out, I'm like, really, Sterling? I mean, for the price, I still think it's a good signing. But for the way he's playing, even £5 too much, really. If you're being perfectly honest. And Aubameyang, I was never a fan of. The one game I was like, this game he might be useful for, I thought would be against Arsenal. Well, how wrong I was. But it honestly feels like no matter who the attacker is, Havertz was a great talent when he was at Leverkusen. Pulisic was a good talent when he was at Dortmund. Broja, I guess, but he's not, Hakim Ziyech was a wonderful player. Now he's busy posting clips of him scoring goals against Chelsea for Ajax. Do you know what I mean? All these players aren't in general just bad players before we signed them, but now they're all bad. So will that happen to just anyone, or what was happening? Are we just signing all the wrong players? What's your perspective on this?
My perspective is, the thing that most annoys me with this fan base is they'll be like, "Oh, our attackers are so shit." Yeah, they're shit now, but they weren't shit when they were before they came here. They came here for a reason. There's a reason we paid $70 million for Havertz, or pounds, whatever it was. Real Madrid wanted him. Bayern wanted him. There's a reason why we pay for these players. It's not. I mean, Pulisic is a little different because he's a good marketing tool for what he is, but the problem
But we're
is
not even using him as a marketing tool anyway. We did a preseason in America, and we didn't use him as marketing for the whole thing. So I'm like, you're not even exploiting that benefit.
Yeah, the things are very clearly missing, and we can keep buying. You can go get Nkunku, you can go get Liao, but what are they gonna do? One, they're coming to a brand new league, which I really am. I'm so scared of new players keep coming to this league. Sometimes it works. I mean, let's look at the two teams today, right? We bought Sterling, who fantastic player, probably our best attacker, not even close, really. On his best day, he's better than all of them. I'll give him that. But who did Arsenal buy? They bought Gabriel Jesus. And I remember last year when we were in the middle of the summer and you're like, oh, if you got to go get Sterling or Jesus, why are you not going for Jesus? Look at the difference he alone made. He alone with that team put them at the top of the table.
If he was with us, he'd probably be as shit as Sterling is.
Yes, and we set up this back three for the last 2 years has been so annoying. And I know everybody, you love Tuchel, but Tuchel's back three was so defensive that you're asking 3 attackers to take on 4 defenders on average. And maybe the wingbacks get up and create the width. Maybe. But last year we had our wingbacks hurt all year long. We kept with that stupid back three. And yet, but our attackers are so shit. But yet you're wanting them to take on 4 players by themselves. It's just, you have to set up differently. There's a reason why the 4-3-3 is one of the most popular formations. It's because it allows attacking football. We do not do that. We do not do that. We are asking 3 defenders to be the progressors of the ball down the field. And then you have Jorginho, who I love Jorginho. Don't get me wrong. Jorginho, within what Jorginho does, is a fantastic player. It's not going to work. It's not going to work if you want to win titles. At least the Premier League. I'm sorry. You need somebody like a Declan Rice. Or look at Casemiro for United and what he's done to change them. You had, what's his name? McTominay. He was running around, and Fred. Fred looks like a 10 times better player now that he sits next to Casemiro. It's crazy. It's crazy what a DM will do for you.
Casemiro, he had no idea what McTominay was saying in his Scottish accent.
And here's the worst problem that we have. We're mistaking players for creative players that are not creative players. Havertz is not creative. Mount is not creative. They're not. And you need creative players. That's what you need. Look at Odegaard on the other side. I loved Odegaard before he went to Arsenal. I was like, he's a fantastic talent. We don't have that. Who's going to be that guy?
We have it. Hakim Ziyech is a creative player, but none of the managers want to use him. When we do play him, you're like, well, he's not doing anything useful. But he's the one player where you're like, yeah, he's creative. So it's like.
And yes, we did play a 4-3-3 in preseason. Actually, I think that was a 4-2-3-1, if I remember correctly, against Arsenal. But still.
It's only a back 4. But only in the first half, mind you. And we were still battered in the second half when we went back to Tuchel's more usual 3-4-3. But, I mean, what you mentioned there, obviously, earlier in terms of that we only want to do it all with 3 attackers. And obviously, today we did play a 4-3-3, and it still didn't make it any better. The problem is, obviously, I don't really know how to put it, but obviously we have 2 things going on at the same time. Number one, we're trying to change the style we play, even though people often think we're doing the same thing that we did on the Tuchel anyway. That's just because the players fall back into habits when things don't work. That's why we're doing so many similar things, because they just do the same thing once the new thing doesn't work. And because we're playing every 3 days, there's literally no chance for the manager to put any new things into, work, really. But he still does, did I skip a super chat? Sorry, Ace. If I did, I will go back to it and find it. Didn't purposely do that. But anyways, I will try to figure that out after I'm done talking. So we're trying to do, change the way we play, change the systems. At the same time, we're playing non-stop at all times. And also having literally the majority of our very best, the most important players missing. And when I say missing, I know Kovacic is not completely injured and not completely missing all the time, but he's playing with a knee injury. He's had a calf problem after the Salzburg game as well. And he's playing through injury and not able to start regularly. Even when he came on today, you saw how he immediately got miles better. Immediately. It was an immediate impact. And that makes a big difference. We're talking about N'Golo Kante. Now, again, I don't think N'Golo Kante is our problem solver when we play, against... now that Burnley are gone, who's the best example of just this random defensive team we would play against? I don't know. Just these random defensive teams that we always play against usually. there, Kante, in my opinion, is not always the solution. But in a game like today against top teams, Kante is most certainly the solution. Missing him. Talked about Reece James. Cucurella had tonsillitis, lost 5 kg. At that time, Ben Chilwell had to play. Now, Ben Chilwell is injured. Do you know what I mean? Fofana's injured. We spent bloody 80 million on. Koulibaly is either not picked or injured. Like, and that, along with playing all the time and trying to change system, I'm not even sure if that's, like, no matter who you are, Potter, Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, I'm not sure if any manager in this situation could do it that much better. But then you're thinking 2 things could have happened. Either sack Tuchel earlier or just wait until the World Cup. Because what's happening right now, I think, like, this time from September to the World Cup, I'm not sure if that benefited us in any way. Well, I don't think we got worse, but I don't think we got better at anything either. So, and I personally think certain results would have been better under Thomas Tuchel just because we knew his system. And I understand what Potter is doing. He's still doing he's still doing the right things. If he wants to get to the way he wants to play football eventually, then he needs to start immediately, of course. But because we play so much and we have no time to train and we've got the World Cup coming up and we've got so many injuries, it's not going to happen in the middle of the season between September and November. So that's why I'm just like, so many things are just going against us at the moment. Like, I saw people talking about, oh yeah, we're not in the title fight. I've accepted it. I'm like, what? Did any of you think we were in the title fight when the season started? Because I sure didn't. I don't know about all of you, but it's a tough one. I mean, Kieran, take it back to you, to that in previous super chat where Moff Nigerian was talking about in terms of that we just make all the players worse. Do you agree with that? Is that a fear you have no matter who we're linked to, especially attackers at the moment? Or do you think it's just happened to be the case that we've just signed players that haven't worked and some others will?
I don't know, because we signed these players and there's a big hype around them, like Havertz and Werner, just the 2 best examples, really. There's big hype around them. They come and they're frankly just shit. I see us linked in Nkunku, who looks like a fantastic player, but you do fear, is he just going to come and the same thing's going to happen? I think there is a problem with, as was mentioned, we lack a creative player. We don't have a creative player who can, like, well, apart from Ziyech, but I'm not a fan of Ziyech.
We're not using him anyway, so.
Yeah, we're not using him. And when we do use him, he's one of the worst players I've ever seen
And don't-
Chelsea. So,
And I don't think we should get it twisted. Ziyech will not play unless it's a dead rubber game, just so you know. I
Bro,
think
he
he's
had
just...
a dead rubber game on Wednesday and he still didn't play.
That's crazy,
Well, he
isn't
came
it?
on, but he still didn't start, Germany.
I mean, that team on Wednesday, I think it was disappointing not to see any. I mean, Zakaria, I guess that was nice to see him play, but I'm disappointed we didn't see any youth in the team, especially with the amount of injuries and games we're having.
And with the way Zakaria played, he at least deserved to come on today.
Yeah, I actually thought he would have. I mean, Loftus-Cheek was having a bit of a stinker, really, so it would have been nice for Zakaria to come on the pitch. I mean, he might have been way off the pace, in fairness, but I don't know. We need to see something change. And with Potter, at the moment, I have no idea what he's trying to do with the team. Every time we play, we look, players are doing completely different things.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sterling wing-back thing, I'm not a fan of at all. I'm glad we didn't do that today. He plays at wing-back. I think he's terrible. And Pulisic should be given more of a chance, really, with how our attackers are playing. I don't know. It's a very depressing time to be a Chelsea fan at the moment because there's a lot of problems in front of you and not a huge amount of solutions.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. Ace Ready, I did find your super chat. I know you said I didn't actually have to find it, but of course I did. That's the whole point of the super chats. Imagine I just ignore super chats. So no one will do super chats. And we love the super chat. So get involved with the super chat, ladies and gentlemen. But Ace Ready said, Mount fully isolated. Arsenal game plan perfect. See, I don't think Mount was isolated. I think Mount was bad, personally. My guy was playing as a number 8. How you can't be isolated as a number 8. Like, you can debate whether Aubameyang was maybe isolated as a striker. Or like when Lukaku played against Palace and had 7 touches. Then you can talk about maybe they're isolated. Obviously, sometimes they will be, sometimes they won't be. But you can't be isolated as a number 8. That's not quite how it works. But Arsenal's game plan was perfect. Well, I'm not even sure if their game plan was perfect or just their players, like they're in such high confidence and good form. Their players can just do things. They can all control the ball. They can all pass the ball. They have fluid interchanging and they, just fill positions when other players vacate them. That doesn't happen for us, does it? That doesn't happen for us. One last super chat before we get into the player rings. And by the way, still keep the super chats coming, but maybe make them about player ratings, because otherwise we'd change topics all the time again. Top 8 is a real concern for us now. No passion, Nihasi. I disagree with that. We need to get to the World Cup now. We still have a good squad. We will get there. I still firmly believe we will get top 4. It's going to be fine. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion. I could be wrong, of course, but I think it's going to be fine. I mean, people were losing their shit over top 4 last season. People were losing their shit over top 4 the season before that. And I always said, trust me, it's been fine. So far, I've been right. Maybe I'll be wrong this time. I hope not. But let's get into these. Edouard Mendy. Now, a tweet during the game. Mendy with the ball at his feet looks about as natural as a chicken wearing flip-flops. And I mean that. But he still actually was bad. Like, he made one good save at the near post against Jesus. Made maybe one or two other decent saves. I can't really think of it. But the weird thing is, like, Arsenal won and they kind of peppered our goal. But peppered our goal in terms of having possession and pressure around our box all the time. In terms of actual efforts on target, they didn't actually have that many. And when they had big chances, they usually put them wide. Whether that was Ben White's shot early in the game or whether it was Jesus' header. But I still think overall he probably gets a 6. I don't think that 1 save is enough to give him more, but I think a 6 is still about right. Clutch, would you agree? Is a 6 okay for Mendy? Like, you can't blame him for the goal, can you? So what can I say?
No, I mean, you kind of summed him up perfectly. The thing is, I think Mendy's a wonderful goalkeeper, but he's just the way Potter wants to play. I mean, every time the ball went back to him, my heart sank into my ass. Like, it's just, I was so scared with him trying to play it on the ball. And there's so many times where he just kind of just booted it, which I guess, you know what, to a degree, I'd rather him do that than make a Kepa mistake from Lampard days. So, yeah, I think he was just average today. We'll give him a 6.
Fair dues. Kieran, would you agree with the 6 or anything different to judge Mendy on?
Yeah, I think 6. If you were giving him a 7, it would just be generous, maybe. He did play an absolutely fantastic pass to Sterling early.
True. Actually, now you mentioned that. Very good, yeah.
Which should have resulted in a goal because Sterling then played a great pass to Havertz, who did a Havertz thing. But yeah, he didn't. He did a good punch, but yeah, I agree with he's not very good on the ball, and I'm pretty sure when Kepa's back, he's going to go straight back into the team.
Yeah, that's the next interesting one. I'm not sure if that's a Potter thing or if Chelsea just do that as a whole, because we did have the tendency to do that also under Thomas Tuchel. But, you know, initially when Kepa got injured, it always pointed at, like, made out to be like nothing particularly serious. It's at the bottom of his foot, like he's wearing crutches, but only precautionary. And then he's asked about it yesterday or on Friday about, like, will Kepa play? No, he won't play before the World Cup. But no, but how long will he be out for? Like, will he be fit for the World Cup? If Spain do call him up, can he be called up? Or will he miss, will he be out for a month now? I don't know. I quite like to know these things. I also have no idea, like, when will Fofana be back? Like, can we know these things, please? Like, can someone tell us? I don't know. Unless I've just forgotten and we do actually know when Fofana is going to be back. I have no idea. But, hey, ladies and gentlemen, though, by the way, before we move on to the centre-backs, because we're done with Mendy, please do subscribe. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. I appreciate every single new subscriber of you. So, please hit that big red subscribe button. Hit the notification button as well. Make sure you get notified whenever we do go live. And smash the like button, because it doesn't cost you any money, barely cost you any time, and it really helps me spread these videos and live streams out to more people. We have over 200 people watching. We need to get at least, nearly 300 people watching. We need to get to at least 100 likes immediately. So go down below, smash the like button for me. And not having a Google account is no excuse. Make a Google account. Otherwise, it's 2022, mate. Get with the times. But let's get to the centre-backs. I want to start with Thiago Silva, because it's a weird one for him today. There was moments where I thought that was amazing. That one block he had in the first half, utterly outstanding. But then when he obviously lost the ball, which then led to the corner from which we conceded. Now, I understand, of course, Mount in front of him, Aubameyang in front of him. I think, Aubameyang was still on. Obviously, didn't help him and come close because he was moving towards the left. That's why I'm mentioning these two. Didn't come close to help him receive the ball. And maybe no one behind him shouted that Jesus was approaching. But if you don't have a passing option and you're just running as a centre-back towards midfield, without looking behind you to see if someone's coming and you shielding the ball, just fucking clear it, man. Like, you're Thiago Silva, you're 38 years old. You're literally experience personified. Like, you shouldn't just lose the ball because you don't have a passing option. Like, obviously, we should be giving him a passing option, and Mount, Aubameyang, Cucurella, all of them should be criticised for not doing that. But that's no excuse to just lose the ball under basically no pressure initially. Just punt it if you've got to. Like, you can't just lose the ball. Then, obviously, Mendy makes that one save we're talking about, the near post. And from the following corner, we concede. But Kai Havertz obviously misses the ball and then Thiago Silva flies past the ball. I don't think Thiago Silva is to blame for that at all because how can you expect that? But still, that was a stinker. So I'm not really, like, in terms of how he gave the ball away initially. So I'm not really sure. I don't think he was awful, but I still think it was below average. I personally give him a 5. I think we could even go a little bit lower than that, maybe. But I think 5 is about okay. Yeah. I don't know. Kieran, do you agree with that? Do you think I'm being harsh just for that one thing and otherwise maybe he was average? But what do you think?
I do actually think you're being a bit harsh on him. The mistake to lose the ball was bad, and I actually think
in the end that's the mistake that cost us the goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I actually
Sorry.
think he should have cleared the corner, even though more of the fault is Havertz.
Yeah, okay.
But I thought apart from that, he was very good. I mean, he is Thiago Silva, and I do have high expectations for him. But I thought he was our best defender up until the point he made that mistake. But yeah, he did make the mistake that led to the goal. So I guess maybe 5 is fair. I would probably go 6, but I definitely wouldn't go 4.
Maybe you don't know this, and because we haven't done so far, we also do 0.5. So not just the full ratings. You can also do 5.5 or 4.5.
Okay, yeah, 5.5. 5.5, I would say is fair. 5.5 or 6.
Okay, fair dues. Absolutely no worries. Of course, Clutch, your end. 5, 5.5, 6. Is that about the realm you'd be moving in as well, or what would you give Thiago Silva today?
I'm gonna give him a 5.5. I think he was just below average. I mean, he did make a couple mistakes that I'm like, okay, why are you doing that? But other players kind of pissed me off a little bit more, so I'll give him a 5.5.
That is fair. Fair enough. Before I move to Trevor Chalobah, let me highlight this super chat by Richard here. Let me just find it. There you go. Appreciate the donation as always, Richard. He says, don't understand why people are constantly pushing for buying more players. Doesn't matter who you buy or how good they are if team chemistry isn't there. Now, on the one hand, I agree with that. On the other hand, I disagree with that because we don't have proper backup to Reece James. We don't have enough real backup in certain positions of midfield. I mean, Jorginho is literally the only DM we have at the club. Now, one could debate maybe Zakaria is a DM, but our manager certainly doesn't seem to see it that way. So that makes Jorginho the only actual DM, which that's a fucking problem, man. How can you be a top 6 club in the Premier League, richer than every but 3 clubs in the whole world? We have only one defensive midfielder. How's that thing? Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy. And then we sign like these old players like Aubameyang. I'm like, what the fuck? But to some extent, I see what you're saying. To some other extent, I'm like, well, we don't give managers, well, maybe we'll now with Potter, but so far we never gave managers enough time to make players better. Tuchel also didn't seem to be a manager that made players better because I can't think of many that got significantly better. Maybe Mason Mount, but is that not just due to him just getting older, therefore better, as most young players do? And then you had some young players which got older and didn't even get better. So it's like, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, you need to buy players, but you need to buy the right players. I think that's the big top. You can't just buy players for the sake of it. You need to buy the right players. But fair enough. Let's get to Trevor Chalobah. He was one of the few where I thought he was at least average. So I would personally give him a 6. I don't think he did many things super wrong. Obviously, there was booked for on one occasion and poor foul on Gabriel Jesus. But a foul in that occasion he needs to make because he needs to be close to Gabriel Jesus. The only thing you could do, could argue, is maybe he needs to be close to Jesus in the first place and then Jesus can't chip the ball over him. But once the ball was chipped over him, we had to bring him down, really. And otherwise, I don't think he did much wrong, personally. But I don't think he did much right. So, therefore, I would personally probably go for an average 6. Clutch, what about you?
Probably going to be a little bit boring, but yeah, average 6. I didn't like how he was, when we needed to like get things going, that he started it up with Xhaka. Xhaka knew exactly what he was doing by getting into a fight with both him and Kovacic. They both should have just walked away, grabbed the ball, and tried to get the ball back into play. I mean, that wasted like 30 seconds of valuable time that we needed to do. I didn't like that. But to a degree, I understand that. That should have been the aggression you had pretty much the whole game. That should have been what you were doing. But yeah, I can't remember too much wrong from him, but not too much incredibly right either. I mean, it's just decent defending, but not much else.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, Karen, would you agree on that 6 for Trevor Chalobah, or did you think anything different?
Yeah, I think 6 is fair. I think the yellow card was completely Cucurella's fault. I don't know why he did that terrible header, and he did have to make the foul because Otherwise, Jesus was basically clean through. There was a cross that came in, and Chalobah kind of like half-headed it, and it went straight to Saka. I think it was Chalobah. It might not have been. He went straight to Saka, and Saka had the ball in the box and like blasted it over. But I mean, we only conceded one goal.
Was that Chalobah? Okay, I couldn't remember that fair play. Yeah,
It might not have been. I think it was, but I'm not 100%.
I can't remember.
We did only concede.
It might well have been Chalobah.
We did only concede one goal against Arsenal, who have scored a lot of goals this season. I don't think it's a defensive issue today. I think 6 is fine.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of like these average ratings in this defense. But hey, let's move on. I'll do Aspie first. Now, obviously, we were sat here yesterday with Euro Expert and Pice. And obviously, initially, we were talking about wing backs. And then Pice especially was kind of more leaning towards Ruben. I was like, can't really decide. Euro Expert was like, play Aspie instead. Now, in the end, we played right back. Your expert didn't want Aspie at right back. He was like, play Chalobah at right back. It's better than Aspie. Aspie did okay defensively. He did okay defensively. Now, should he be doing more going forward? Potentially. But I honestly don't think for him and Cucurella, that is their fault today. I think that was purely instruction to not be that involved in attack, personally, because otherwise, like you just touched on it, Arsenal are having a good season. Arsenal scoring a lot of goals. If we're not playing a back three, at this moment in time, we probably do need our fullbacks to stay deep. And that's probably why we kept them to only one goal. And that was a stupid goal. Like this, as much as Arsenal absolutely 1,000,000% deserved to win the game, but the way the goal happened could have also easily ended up as a 0-0. Do you know what I mean? I thought Aspie did okay defensively, especially against Martinelli. I expected him to be rinsed and mugged off on, well, countless occasions. It happened maybe once or twice. So from that perspective, I think Aspie did okay. Almost because of the low expectations ahead before the game, I almost want to give him a 6.5 rather than just a 6. But I'm also absolutely okay with the 6. Kieran, what about you? Would you give him a tad over the 6 or would you just go with the 6? I mean, maybe some people will think he was poor. Like I say, to me, he was okay, honestly.
Well, I think when the lineup came out, everyone was very concerned about Aspie and Martinelli, but really, Azpilicueta did pretty well dealing with Martinelli, he scored 5 goals this season. He's quite a big attacking threat. He scored more goals than anyone on our team. And yeah, he kept him quiet in the game. I mean, we know his limitations going forward, and I mean, he didn't exceed expectations. But defensively, I thought he was very good. Very good might be too far, but good.
Yeah, there you go. So you agree with the 6, yeah?
Yeah, 6.
Or would you go 6.5?
Let's give him a 6.5.
Okay, let's see what Clutch says. Maybe it brings it back down to a 6 anyway. Clutch, what do you think?
No, I'm going to give him a 6.5. He was our best defender, probably. The fact that Martinelli didn't really... I mean, Martinelli did have a couple good shots. By the way, the guy who's saying Conte to come back, bro, he literally sued us. He's never coming back. Stop talking about it.
I thought you were talking about like N'Golo Kante. I was like, when did Kante sue?
No, he's talking like he's like, yeah, we need to go get Conte back. Like, no, he's never coming back. Stop. Just stop.
No. Antonio Conte is about the last manager ever one coming back to Chelsea. But anyway.
But yeah, no, it's 6.5. He did have that little knock around. Who was it? Who did he? He beat somebody on a dribble, which is something Sterling hasn't done all year. So
Gabriel, I think it was the guy that scored in the end.
Yeah. So, but that also came to like one of the worst crosses I've ever seen Aspie make in my life. So,
yeah,
his limitations going forward are something we are very well aware of. But at least his defending was back to what it normally is, because he used to just get dusted every week, and he didn't necessarily get that this week. So,
I think when Aspie doesn't play every game, Aspie can certainly do a job. Like, for example, when he played that game against Wolves, when we won 3-0, when we rotate more than we did against bloody Zagreb, again, it didn't matter. But we will talk about that, by the way, once we get to Graham Potter, because I'm not sure if it's just me, but to me, we looked slow, tired, lethargic today. Would that be different? Have we rested some players on Wednesday?
I got a rant for that. Don't you worry.
Yeah, no, exactly that. But yeah, Aspie. Also, one thing I do want to mention, very important, that yellow card he got, in my opinion, one of the most ridiculous yellow cards I've ever seen. I mean, he has to go with his foot stretched out to get the ball. And as soon as he touched the ball, he took his foot down and he wasn't stretched anymore. And then by the time him and, was it Saka? No,
it was Martinelli.
By the time their feet touched, If anything, Martinelli is kicking up into Aspi's foot. If anything, Aspi's literally putting his foot down after winning the ball. Like, especially, honestly, ridiculous. It's not a foul. It's not a yellow card. Some people are talking about a red card. I'm like, excuse yourself. Is that like, sorry, are you in kindergarten? Like, what? That get in the bin. But anyways, let's get to Cucurella. You know what, Clutch? I'll actually give you the floor first, and I'll go to Kieran after and hold myself to last. Because I'm very intrigued what you guys are going to say about Cucurella today. So what do you make of him? For some reason, I nearly called you Kai then. Clutch, of course.
Please don't ever call me Kai. I don't want to get yelled at. I thought he was good defensively. I thought he was pretty decent, to be honest. He's better than he has been in a long time. He was 8 of 12 for ground duels, so going forward, and his crossing wasn't that great. And I don't think his...
Did he even cross?
It says twice.
Uh-huh. Okay. More than I can remember.
I don't know why the chat is saying 4. Like,
yeah, I don't know. There seem to be a lot of people on Twitter as well that I saw who were seemingly
I would
really
probably...
happy with Cucurella. I'm baffled by this, but we'll get to my thoughts after.
I don't think he was great going forward, but also I think you were right when you said instructions. I think we got so afraid of them hitting us on the counter that we pretty much, like, the speed of Saka and Martinelli, that we just kind of were like, do not push forward. Which, again, that's a big problem. But if I would say basically off of his defensive work, I'd give Cucurella maybe a 6. Maybe a 6. No, I'm not giving him as high as Aspie. I'm giving a 6.
Okay. Kieran, what about you?
Well, I'm going to be the voice of some of the people in the chat and disagree with you. I feel like we were watching different games. I cannot stand Cucurella at the moment. He annoys me so much. He gave away a number of fouls against Saka in dangerous positions. He should have given away another foul that the ref didn't give a free kick for. He forced Chalobah to take a yellow card when he did a terrible header backwards. Going forward, he offered nothing. I mean, we can say that's less his responsibility, but every time he's on the ball, he just looks so erratic. I think he tries very hard, and fair enough for that. But he looks out of his depth on the ball, and it looks like he's panicking half the time. But yeah, you guys think he got 6, but
hey, I'm not sure. What rating would you give him, though, bro?
4.
4? Okay. See, for me, Cucurella was the only one today. Less maybe in the second half. I feel like in the second half, I just noticed Cucurella less full stop. Obviously, at that handball, which was thankfully just outside the box. And obviously that header for which cost Chilwell basically the yellow card at the end. That is the one real mistake that I think of when I think of Cucurella's performance today. I think there was a lot of very aggressive, very positive defending from him, which I'm like, because he tried that on a number of occasions in previous games where he just missed the ball every time. And today he got the ball, and I'm like, that makes such a difference, getting that ball and not getting that ball. But even getting that ball or not even trying to get that ball. Now, I see the foul thing against Saka. In my personal opinion, Mikel Arteta was ridiculously soft today on all the things that he gave free kicks up for, on both sides, by the way, not just Chelsea, also for Arsenal. But he started that. At some point in the game, he started that, and he just gave a foul for everything. And I guess once he starts doing it, he has to do it for the whole game, I suppose. But I thought compared to how, I mean, I don't watch Arsenal all the time, but how everyone always tells me how great and amazing Bukayo Saka is. If he's so great and amazing as everyone tells me he was, then by that logic, Cucurella must have been pretty good today because Saka did fuck all. So on that basis, I thought Cucurella was really good. First half, I thought Cucurella was really good. Second half, different story. Because of the header, I'm not sure because Aspie was also on Saliba on Gabriel when we conceded. So I'm like, now, can he do something about it? Probably not. But he was still, like, he was trying to hold him as he was trying to run. So it's a difficult one. I will say 6. I was even thinking 6.5. I know to some people, including Kieran, that might seem crazy. Again, it wins 8 ground duels. Who else won 8 ground duels, man, today? Honestly. But yeah, I'll say 6. Fair enough. Gives us a 5 overall then. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think people are a little bit, and I'm not trying to direct it at individuals, but I think people are a little bit, like, fans often to me are, when someone plays bad, they always think they're bad. once they like someone and think they're good, they always think they're good. Like, that's what I think happens with Raheem Sterling a lot, where he had a good start on the, Chelsea. And that's why people just accepted that he's shit now for the last nearly 2 months at this point. And in my opinion, way too few people talk about how awful he's been. While Kai Havertz, in comparison, has been equally as bad, in the last 6 weeks, less bad than Raheem Sterling. But people go in on him way harder. Now, obviously, I understand he's had more time at Chelsea and stuff. But Raheem Sterling came and was supposed to be like the leader, the main man and everything. And he's worse. So why is he getting this stick? I don't understand. And that's what I feel like with Cucurella at the moment. Like the Villa game, the Brentford game, the United game. These games, I feel like just made people think Cucurella is just awful. I know they always think he's awful, even when he's not awful. But hey, that's my opinion. People will have their own opinions. That's absolutely fine. 5 we sit on at the moment. Is the chat cooking me? I haven't looked at the chat. Have you cooked me? Laurenz, you should take a poll for rating. Sometimes you watch with different glasses. I don't wear glasses, actually. But maybe I should sometimes, can't lie. But see, I can give you a poll. You know what, actually, just for Cucurella, what usually we do when we have split decisions, which we sometimes do. Obviously, less so when we have, what's it called? 3 people. Obviously, will happen more when we have even number of people. But I will put a poll in the chat and give you the option to place your own vote for Cucurella. Now,
Bazooka,
I can only give you... Sorry?
Bazooka in the chat, I want you to re-put that exact sentence when we get to Sterling, because that is insane that you said that. But I'll wait until we get to Sterling.
Yeah, please remember it, because I haven't seen it now, but I might go look for it. Now, what I'm not sure about is what rating options I shall give for Cucurella. I'll just say 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what I'll give you, because I can only do 4 options, can't I? So that's what I'll give you. And you, ladies and gentlemen, place your vote in the poll that will be at the top of the chat in just a second's time. Do that. But yeah, let's get to Jorginho. I probably thought the most okay of the midfield 3, but still awful. Like, still dreadful. I haven't looked at his stats, but like, really not good. Clutch, I'll start with you. What did you make of Jorginho today?
Not good. I think he had good moments. I thought he had a couple really good progressive passes. The one that he passed down to Kai, and then Kai just, like, his brain exploded or something, or he lost his brain because he just kind of sat there and let people, like, he took it up and then tried to start dribbling, and it just wasn't. We had a really good opportunity from that. There was that one time he kind of dribbled out of pressure. That was good. But the problem is, I mean, we had almost no control all game. Jorginho had 40 touches, which that's not a Jorginho thing. He should be getting at least 70 touches a game at the very least, because, I mean, that's his literal whole job in this team. And then he got dribbled past like 3 or 4 times. Like, I would give him like, because I like Jorginho. 4.5. I'm gonna go 4.5.
This one is very interesting to me, because usually the chat are super harsh on Jorginho, because, well, that's just what the chat usually does. But today they seem to be almost going higher for him than I would have done, because, I mean, you said 4.5, did you? Passing accuracy of 67%, 22 out of 33 for Jorginho. That is diabolical. Jorginho averages over 90 usually, at least 85. To have below 70 for Jorginho is crazy. Like, crazy. Now, the other stats are okay. He won 2 out of 2 tackles, but the tackle stat is always like, because did he only really do 2 tackles? Because if anything, that's the problem in and of itself. But he had 12 recoveries, that's good. 2 interceptions, that's decent. Ground duels, 3 out of 6, better than most others. Aerial duels, 1 out of 1. Don't know who that was against, though, and how that exactly came about. So, difficult one for me to judge. But, Kieran, Clutch said 4.5. Do you think that's harsh? Would you give him about the same? What did you think of Jorginho?
I'm going to disagree with you guys again. I actually thought Jorginho was one of the few players who played, I mean, all right, not bad. The pass accuracy is a lot lower because, I mean, he just had a lot less passes because we had a lot less of the ball. It says here he tried
22 out of 33 is still bad, no matter that it's less than usual.
That is bad, but 7 long balls apparently, which is, I mean,
yeah, 3 of those were actually complete, so it's not even that bad.
Yeah, but it highlights the fact that we had nothing going forward, that Jorginho is playing long passes, because, I mean, he does do that sometimes. He does do that sometimes, but yeah, not very often. I thought he was all right playing next to Loftus-Cheek. I think Loftus-Cheek was really bad today.
Yeah.
And I think Jorginho kind of maybe caught some of that flack because there's no control of the midfield. But I would say 6.
Okay. Fair. I would probably give him a 5 myself. What does that give us overall then? Shall I give the chat an option? But you're still kind of voting on Cucurella, so I'm not really sure yet. Yeah. I'm not really sure. I'll leave that for now, and I'll just put 5.5, I guess. Is that fair? I don't really know. Put a 5.5 on the screen for the time being. If we get to it after the Cucurella rating, I will give you guys another poll for that one. Fair enough. Yeah, like I say, I would have probably given him like a 5. Did I say that as clearly as I wanted to? Like I say, I agree with part of what Kieran is saying. I do think he had positive things. And I always say that, and people know I'm a big fan of Jorginho. But when I say that for certain games, I have to say it for all the games, even against better teams. Jorginho's main job, and I praise Jorginho for that, even when other people slate him. But Jorginho's main job is to give us control of a game. Jorginho's main job isn't to create. Jorginho's main job isn't to assist. Jorginho's main job isn't to like spray these wonder passes around to make us create chances. That's not Jorginho's main job. Now, he should be doing more of it to be an even better player, absolutely. But his main job, first and foremost, especially playing as a single 6, which he did for the most part today, is to control the game. And if we have control of the game, the simple answer is no. Therefore, I can't give him a high rating because to me, that's his main job. If you're not doing your main job, you're getting a low rating. Do you know what I mean? That's how I get to that. So even though there was certain moments he did right, like you say, certain forward pass, I'm like, okay, that's good. But you know, that's you're getting to Alonso territory. When Alonso scored, and everyone was praising him from here to the bloody Japan. When he's a defender and was shit defensively all game, but scores one goal or puts in one decent cross, and everyone's like hyped because he got one header in the box. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's all well and good, but he's a fullback. That's not his main job, is it? Like, score a goal, fantastic, but while being good defensively, please too. Again, you're a fullback. It's like when centre backs get a goal from set piece and people hype and praise them. I'm like, yeah, but you're shit defensively. So that's why it's like, yeah, he did those things. But I'd only care about those things if you can help us control the game, because that's what you're here for first and foremost. That's how I see that.
I have to interrupt you though, Laurenz. Marcus Alonso is not a fullback. He's a center back now. Get it right.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Andreas Christensen is sat on the bench, even though Lewis obviously tries to tell me he just came back from an injury. What injury was that? Did he have to throw up before a game again? Unlucky. But yeah, is what it is. But I shouldn't joke about that. Anxiety is a real thing. But I don't understand if you have such serious anxiety how you ever make it to be a pro. That's the part that confuses me. But hey, fair enough. Ruben Loftus-Cheek. People know I'm a big fan of him. I love Ruben with all my heart. But I was just fucking dreadful. Like, I'm even considering giving him a 0 because he was like, there was very few things that he did good. Honestly, like I saw Nini tweet this during the game where he's like, yeah, Ruben does this and this. And I'm like, bro, I love Ruben. Usually that's the one thing Nini and I almost connect over. We both love Ruben and have always. But nah, sorry, Nini. But today, you can't say he does well because he receives the ball and lays it off 2 yards to Azpi. That's not doing well, is it? And it's like, obviously you can debate whether, again, it was more of a 4-2-4 at times or 4-2-2-2. And then maybe it is a double pivot situation. But to me, especially to start the game, he was a number 8. As when he plays as a 6, I let Ruben off for a lot more things. So I'm like, okay, I'm not expecting you to go on all these runs because you want to be careful and not caught in transition, out of position and stuff. But today you were playing as an 8 first and foremost, in my opinion, at least. Then I need more. You are strong, you are quick, you are good at dribbling. One of the, after cover, one of the best dribblers we have. I need you to do more than just pass it 2 meters to Jorginho and Azpi. And it needs to be more. And then in that one, it's literally a transition moment. He doesn't transition, doesn't play a long ball to Sterling, who I'm sure made a run on the far post, on the far right-hand side. Even if we didn't see it on TV, I'm sure he made that run. Absolutely sure. And Ruben waits, loses the ball, and we nearly concede. I'm like, no, bro. It's not it. I'm going to give him a 2, but I could equally give him a 0. Kieran, what about you?
Yeah, I've just been reading some of the chat and some comments I agree with. I know you said Jorginho's job is to control the midfield, but it is difficult to control the midfield when you've got someone like Loftus-Cheek playing as he did today. He can't do it by himself, and Loftus-Cheek was really bad today. He looked so uncomfortable in midfield. He was beaten easily by the Arsenal players. I mean, yeah, he lost the ball that Silva had to make a great block to stop the shot going on target. When they're passing forward, he just looked out of position, and it made it easy for Arsenal to break through our midfield. And even the stuff that he's good at today, I thought he was bad. He was when he ran forward and he won that foul off of Partey. I mean, he was just about to lose the ball. He was lucky he got fouled because he messed up his dribbling. I thought today it was really bad. Normally, I would never go as low as 2, so I would probably say 4, but I could understand why you're saying 2. I think he's arguably the worst player on the pitch.
Oh, I think that's taking it very far. But we'll get to those that I think were really bad.
Maybe Havertz.
Yeah, it's a weird one because
there's like 3 worse than Ruben, in my opinion, but...
Yeah. It's difficult because, again, the different jobs, obviously, but he had a pass accuracy of 84%, 21.5, 25. But that was because, like I said...
All those passes are backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not even backwards, but also like 3 yards to Azpi and 5 yards to Jorginho on the other side. I'm like, no matter how bad of a day you're having, no one can miss those passes. You know what I mean? So it's like that's a bit of a skewed stat, shall we say. I mean, 0 out of 2 tackles, one-headed clearance, but still 3 recoveries compared to Jorginho's 12, and of course played higher, but still 3 out of 4 ground duels, 1 maybe okay, but why are you only in 4 ground duels in the first place? Aerial duels 1, 2 out of 5, bro. You're like a full head taller than everyone else on the pitch. Did you lose the majority of headed duels? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, honestly. Like, I love him, but bro, that weren't it. Sorry, Kieran, remind me. Did you stick to the 4 in the end, or did you go for anything lower?
I don't like to be too harsh, especially if he didn't score an own goal or directly contribute to us conceding. So I would say,
oh, please do. Please be harsh.
It's okay.
3 would be fine, depending on how we're going to rate the attackers.
They're going low. At least in my opinion, they're going very low. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Hey, bro, sometimes we even get the poo emoji out. Sometimes we don't even give them a rating. Do you know what I mean? Because we're here to make ourselves feel a bit better as well. We're not here to be like do perfect journalism. Do you know what I mean? Clutch. A 2 and either a 3 or a 4. We're not sure yet. We'll ask Kieran again after you've given your rating. What would you give Ruben today?
A 2. He's a 2 because he took a number 2 out there. It's hard to pick between which one's worse, the horse poo or the cow poo. I don't know which one 4 different players could be, but they're all in the same vein, in my opinion. I think, and I see a lot of people in chat calling for Zakaria. Like, Artie, I love you, bro. Like, you do the Pulisic prop very well, but Potter nor Tuchel picked Zakaria at any point until a dead rubber game. Why would he pick it against Arsenal? I know he had a good game. Trust me. I know that. I get it. But why do you think he's going to do that? If we started Zakaria instead of Ruben and Zakaria was bad, then you would have said the same thing. Well, why didn't you pick in Ruben? It's all hindsight. Like, you don't know. Like, maybe Zakaria did deserve to start because he had a really good game, but it's still Zagreb. Let's calm down. Calm down on that train. But no, Ruben was really bad. I think the thing I have the worst problem with Ruben is he had one moment when he drew a foul, but the only reason he even drew a foul is because he lost the ball and was like trying to get it back and then just ended up falling over because he couldn't make a decision of what he wanted to do with the ball. Like, it's just, he has such bad decision making, and it annoys me because there's a great player there. If he could just level out some stuff, he'd be fine. But no, today he was just, the things that he does well, he didn't even do well today. So, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Karen, have you come to a decision whether you want to go 3 or 4?
I love him, so I'm going to say 4 still.
Fair dues. We'll give him a 3 overall. Hey, I'm not complaining about anyone being nice to Ruben. So, no stick from me, bro. Let's get to Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount was worse than Ruben, honestly. I mean, like I said earlier, I think you could give Ruben a 0 and you can most certainly give Mount a 0. But, bro, what did I just read? I just looked at the stats there. 13 out of 21 successful passes. 62% as a midfielder. Like, when that happens to like an attacker, and then the only passes you get to make are like in the final third, and you know that you have like 8 defenders around you, sure, I'll let you off for having a low pass accuracy. But he was playing as a number 8. 62. Like, I guess it's less bad for him to have 62 than it is for Jorginho to have 67. But still, like, what? 38 shots only, 0 out of 1 successful dribbles, 1 out of 4 successful crosses. Like, tackles 1, 0 out of 1. Do you know what I mean? Mount, Mason, like 4 out of 8 ground duels won. For some reason, 2 out of 3 aerial duels won. How do you win? How do you have more aerial duels won than bloody Ruben Loftus-Cheek? How that's possible, I don't know. And the amount of times I saw Mason just get pushed around like he was a little girl. It's ridiculous. Like someone just came back and just came at him, and he just fell over, lost the ball every time. Like, why? Is it because you overplayed? Maybe. But one thing's for sure, he was, in my opinion, dreadful. Like, honestly, if you're playing like that, just play fucking Gallagher. Gallagher is great, but Gallagher has recently also always been chucked on as basically a forward. And I'm like, how's that happen then? Do you know what I mean? Like, but I honestly think Mount was worse than Ruben, so I'm going to give him a 1. But like I said, I could have given both a 0. But if I want to differentiate between how bad, out of a bad bunch everyone was, then I have to be slightly different. But I'll say a 1 for myself. Honestly, I think there's very few things he could have done worse today than what he did, quite frankly. I mean, if anyone can name me a good thing he did, please tell me. Maybe I just forget. But Kieran, can you remember any good things that Mount did? Honestly, I genuinely can't. It's not that I'm trying to slay it. People know I actually like Mount. I'm not one of these random people that, for some reason, just always hate on Mason Mount, which I find weird. I'm not. But today, I just think, what can I praise?
No, yeah, he was not a good performance at all from Mount. But I mean, to be fair, there was not a good performance from any of the attackers. So it would be surprising if one attacker was drastically better when the rest of the team is absolutely shocking. But yeah, as you said, I can't think of one good thing he did. I'm looking at his stats at the moment. He had 1 key pass. I don't know what that was. 1 shot. It was, I don't know. It's a really bad performance, but it's kind of in keeping with the tone of the rest of the team. I wouldn't expect him to be much better if everyone else is awful.
On the one hand, yes, but when you think back to Lampard times, right? When everyone was awful and he was somehow still the one that stood out and was kind of almost trying to drag the rest of the team by himself. There was no dragging of anything by him, was there?
I mean, if we were just completely dominated, it would be very difficult for him to have dragged us from out of nowhere. He's not Eden Hazard. He's not going to do something magical when the entire team is being absolutely played off the park. But I can understand.
I just need them to have better passing. Like that's to me was the biggest issue. Like we gave the defenders some reasonable ratings, like all of them around the average mark, and even Jorginho around the average mark. So why were we so bad then? Yeah, because we constantly gave the ball away, and that started with Jorginho, his 67%, continued to Mason, and Ruben always just giving it to Azpi, who then struggled. And that to me is like we're a top team. We can't just have midfielders and accept having 62% passing accuracy. I think when you get to that point, your passing accuracy is nothing. Like obviously runs make a difference, but I'm not asking it. He didn't have 62% passing accuracy because he tried to play perfect through balls to help us score every time. He also misplaced the easiest of passes constantly. Like he tried these random flicks and he received the ball. I'm like, bro, just keep the ball. We need some control. Like we never managed to get a foot in the game. Other than within our back 5, I guess, with like the DM and the back 4. Like we needed to have a bit of a stronghold of the game further up the pitch. And that's where him and Ruben were. That's why I'm going so harsh on them too. That's me. But again, everyone obviously has their own opinion. Sorry, Kieran, I cut you off there again. I do apologize.
No, it's okay. I understand why he's getting absolutely rinsed. I do think there were worse attackers. So if you're giving him a 1, then where are you going to go from there?
We'll see.
I would probably say 3.
Okay. That's fair. So we have a 1 and a 3 so far, putting us at a 2 for the time being. Clutch, you gave Ruben a 2. Did you think Mount was worse than Ruben, or did you think they were about the same? What do you make of it?
I might have given Ruben maybe too high just because I have a soft spot for Ruben Loftus-Cheek, but I do think Mount.
You can still lower your rating if you want, but I'll give you the chance after.
I probably would. I mean, they were both useless. I don't know. Just leave them as they are.
Yeah.
Well, I will start with Chad is saying we're letting Mason Mount off. Like he's getting. You see his number right now next to his name. How's that letting him off? You just want to say
you gave him a 1. How am I letting him off?
I'm gonna be real with you. I want to give him a 0. He was so bad. This is his position, and he was so bad. You're a midfielder. You actually, I like Mason Mount, and you questioned me today. You make me question what you're actually good at. That's what you've done to me today. Like you're supposed to be good at passing. You're not. You're just not. I don't know why you're not. You're supposed to be good at pressing. You're not. You got nutmegged like 4 times. I thought you were Alonso out there defending. I got very confused. Like you're like, and just many times he was the guy who's supposed to be the engine. I didn't see him running. The one positive thing he did was not even something that like he probably would have missed it is when he was making the run. Havertz should have passed it back to him. That's the only positive thing I've seen from Mason Mount today. He was the worst player along with like 2 other players. Him and Havertz and Aubameyang can all sit on the same tier as far as I'm concerned. They're all terrible today, and I don't care.
Yeah, fair. I guess you giving him a 0 takes us back down to the 1. But hey, here we are. Now, let's quickly take a look back at the Cucurella rating. You guys really didn't rate Cucurella today. Fair enough. 42% of you gave him a 3. 25% of you gave him a 4. 21% of you gave him a 5. And 11% of you gave him a 6. Interestingly, earlier in the poll, when there had not been as many votes, the 5 was actually winning. So very interesting. But hey, here we are. Basically counting you guys as another extra person. Count you guys as a 3. I guess we'll give Cucurella a 4 then. I personally disagree, but hey, here we are. We're here to have different opinions and not all the same, because otherwise, how fucking boring would life be? For the time being, as we move on to the attackers, I will give you an option in the poll to pick for Jorginho between a 5 and a 5.5, just to, let you decide on that one as well. But in the meantime, I'll get to, I guess, Raheem Sterling. And I'll let you start on this one, Kieran, rather than me trying to influence, or not that I usually try to influence, but not by me influencing you by waffling first. So what did you make of Raheem Sterling?
I mean, out of Mount, Aubameyang, Havertz, and Sterling, I would say Sterling did 2 things that were actually credible today. 2 passes down the right wing that found Havertz, and one of them definitely should have resulted in at least a decent chance, but Havertz completely wasted it. Yeah, he wasn't good by any stretch, and I mean, when he's on the ball, sometimes he just looks completely lost. Didn't have a shot, I don't think, today. So, but I mean, not the worst. So I mean, if we're going off the ratings we've given, then I'd probably give him a 3, considering Mount's a 1. And I think he was better than Mount, not by very much.
I agree. I'm not sure whether I necessarily agree with the 3, but I agree that he was marginally better than Mount. Even the 3, I was thinking about it. But Clutch, I'll let you go first. Kieran gave him a 3. What would you give Sterling?
It's unfortunate Ruben's at a 3 because he was better than Ruben, but not very much. And I don't think he was I rated Ruben at like 2.
Hold on a second, Clutch. Shall we give Kieran a chance? Do you want to lower your rating for Ruben from a 4 to a 3 and then overall he gets a 2.5? Do you want to do that, or do you want to stick to your 4?
I mean, our ratings are getting very low here, but yeah, I would say Sterling was probably better. So you can put it 2.5. I'll say whatever my vote makes that.
But you initially said a 4 for Ruben. That's why we end up on the 3 type thing.
Okay, well, I'll bump it down to a 3.5, and then that should balance it.
Don't feel pressured. If you want to keep Ruben at a 4, I'm just saying that because a couple of minutes ago you said it, so that's why.
No, yeah, because the ratings have gotten very harsh, and I do think Loftus-Cheek is below Sterling.
Maybe they are a little bit too harsh. We have to remember we're playing one of the most informed teams in the league, but at the same time, it's still Arsenal. We're still Chelsea. Like, we can't just accept being just shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not accepting it.
No, we definitely don't accept it at all. But I mean, we did only lose 1-0, I guess, is the only positive.
But we did create nothing, so that's why we're harsh on the attackers and decent on the defenders, I suppose. But you're right. You're right. I still do see what you mean. Like, could Mount get a 2 and Ruben a 3 and Sterling a 4? Absolutely, we could do that. But at the end of the day, what matters is it's rather than the end rating. I think it matters more what we talk about and what actual numbers says there at the end.
Yeah.
We're fans, right? Where we're going to have emotional attachments to certain things, absolutely. But fair enough. You give Sterling a 3, clutch. What were you going to give him? Like you said, he was a bit better than Ruben. Now Ruben is at a 2.5. So does that make you just say 3 for Sterling?
I gave Ruben. Well, first, Chelsea all the way. I know you're talking about like mid-table manager, but you actually just said let's get the sporting manager from Portugal. Like you're just doing the same thing. So stop the waffle. And then we're going to go back to the comment from Bazooka who said Sterling is not getting the passes he wanted. Our midfielders have been so bad. Sterling had 1 completed dribble out of 6. That's not getting the passes he wanted. He's just not good right now. That's it. He's just not good. He's not dribbling correctly.
With 0 completed dribbles before Zagreb, I think. You know how bad that is? 0 or before Salzburg, maybe. And 0 completed dribbles in 4 games. You know how mad that is? As Raheem Sterling.
You're Raheem Sterling. You're one of the better dribblers in the league. And I do think, like, there is, supposedly. And no, he's not a 0 today. 0 is reserved for very special 3 players today. I'm sorry. Sterling actually had decent moments. Had not the greatest moments. Don't get that twisted. I'd give him a 2.5, just barely above Ruben. But he was like the only one who looked halfway dangerous today. Like the only one. But still wasn't good enough, in my opinion. And for somebody who, Raheem Sterling is supposed to be the guy. And we're not talking about this enough. We're not talking about, like, this guy should be benched for consecutive games. He came here because he wanted to be the top guy. The ego that this guy has, and he can't even follow it. Like you're the best attacker we have, and I haven't seen that since I don't know when.
Since we played
2 months ago.
Since we played Leicester in September, in August, we played Leicester. That was, in my opinion, the last time we played well.
Like the only corners we got was when Sterling was driving and trying to cross. Like that's the only time we even had to have halfway decent anything. Yeah. And I'm not saying he was good because he wasn't. He was just, like I said earlier, it's trying to pick poo out of poo. I don't know which is worse. Sterling, unfortunately, was just the better player out of 5 shit players.
Yeah, fair. I would have given him, you said 2.5, didn't you?
Yes.
I would have given him a 2. So we give us overall a 2.5, I suppose. The reason for that is, Kieran mentioned that the 2 good passes that he did make. Those 2 were good. Those 2 did deserve more after. Now, they're obviously only possible because Havertz actually made a good run, which no one will praise him for. But, of course, that's unfortunately how it goes. But my big issue with Raheem Sterling was there was occasions when we had transition moments, when we had moments where he could have, used gegenpressing and won the ball back immediately. To me, Raheem Sterling, like Havertz was shit. Aubameyang was shit. Mount was shit. Ruben was shit. But these 4 were shit. Well, okay, maybe actually Ruben didn't always look like trying. At least the other 3 were shit while trying. Sterling didn't even bother. And that's where I'm like, wow. But one thing I will give Sterling, and I'll mention that again when we get to Graham Potter later. Please, Graham, make me understand one thing. Raheem Sterling, if he's good at 2 things, one is dribbling. Okay, he's not doing that at the moment. And the other thing is getting in the right positions to somehow find himself have easy tap-ins. That was his thing at Man City. Now, I understand at Man City that happens a million times more regularly than it does at Chelsea. When you have Kevin De Bruyne on the other side, that flipping helps to get a tap-in at the far post, doesn't it? But us basically only having a right-hand side and then having Raheem Sterling on that side when his one big strength is to get on the end of balls at the far post. But we don't use a left attack. We tell our left back to stay back. Also, our left back is a guy that's not good in the final third anyway, at least so far at Chelsea. And then Aubameyang, who didn't even stay on the left. And Mount, who I'm not sure if he was supposed to be on the left more than he was, but it certainly wasn't there enough. So why are you putting Sterling on the right then? Because what's he going to do from there? The one thing he's good at is getting on the end of balls, not playing the balls in. So
if you're going to do that, at least have somebody else who makes the back post run, because Aubameyang and Havertz aren't going to do it.
No, exactly. Well, no one played any balls in there anyway. But I'm like, Sterling will just force that, I think, because Sterling will always be there. Well, Aubameyang do sometimes that, Havertz sometimes that. Sterling only does one thing. He waits for the ball, tries to dribble, or goes to the far post. It's always the same thing. So it's at least consistent where you are sure easier to defend maybe, but at least as the guy trying to deliver the ball, I see a logic in that. But him on the right, when we only attack down the right, I don't understand at all. Like, at all. Very confusing to me, but hey.
So I just add to that. I actually think Sterling is being a bit... I'm not a massive Sterling fan, but I think with the way Potter's been using him recently, it's just been so weird. Why is he playing wing back? It's terrible tactical decision. He can score. That's the one thing that Sterling can do. He can score. He should be near the goal at all times. He should not have the defensive responsibilities that he has at the moment. I mean, less so today, but I mean over recent weeks as well. It's unbelievable to me. I don't know. We're a mess. Is my summary.
Yeah, I do hear you. The whole wing back thing is a difficult one because I don't really view when Sterling and Pulisic play that position. I don't think we can just assume them as wing backs. I think like Leandro Trossard played wing back under Graham Potter at Brighton. He wasn't not because he was good defensively, but he didn't he wasn't an actual wing back. Like he positioned it as a wing back, but he didn't play as a wing back. Neither did Sterling or Pulisic when they had to play those positions. They were just right and left mids. They weren't left backs. Like think back to Willian. Willian played right winger in 4-3-3s, 4-2-3-1s, all sorts. He still held out defensively. Just because Sterling refuses to help out defensively doesn't mean he's a wing back, right? He should be doing that as a winger all the same. So to me, it's like this. All this means is it puts him a little bit wider because we play more central forwards in the higher areas. So to still have attackers in wide areas, that's why we put the wingers in those positions. Now, obviously, it didn't work against Brighton one bit, but I don't think that's because of those two. I think you need to, when you then play wingers in the wing back areas, then you just need to have midfielders to fill the gaps to help the back three, which we did against Salzburg, didn't against Brighton. But that's why it doesn't work. Yeah. Like I understand everyone it's wing backs, but they're not playing as wing backs, are they? Like look at especially Sterling against Brighton. My guy never came across the halfway line to defend. Like that's not what a wing back does. And he would have been hooked had that been the instruction to defend. Graham Potter even says they weren't there to defend their wing backs, which tells you enough, really. Like if when the manager says these guys, Pulisic, Sterling against Brighton, weren't supposed to defend Brighton's wing backs, that tells you they weren't defenders, were they? So that's my perspective on that. But I don't know. You say that he can score, but then I look at the Zagreb game, my guy should have had a hat-trick. Didn't. How many other times this season has he been in great position and just wait to get tackled? Like, well, what is he good at the moment? Because I agree with you, he should be good at scoring. But he's not doing that either. So at that point, it's that's why I've been saying for 2 months now, put him on a fucking bench. But it's not happening. Anyways, I'm going to say Aubameyang first because, and that's why I'm going to be so critical of Aubameyang. Aubameyang didn't play today like a real striker, like a Lukaku against Crystal Palace when he had 7 touches. Aubameyang wasn't that today. Aubameyang was, at times, even deeper than Kai Havertz. Yet Kai Havertz managed to be on the ball all the time. Now, he messed it up pretty much every time he was on the ball, but he still managed to be on the ball. Aubameyang didn't manage that one bit. He had 8 touches. So that's why I'm giving Aubameyang a 0, because I'm like, I know he lacked certain service and could have had the ball from Havertz for a good goal-scoring opportunity. Okay. But in general, if you are not playing any more forward than the other guy, what excuses are we giving Aubameyang for not touching the ball then? And again, we can purely blame Graham Potter for not covering the left side at all. But Aubameyang played this very position against Zagreb and covered it. And now we played the same system. So I think he was supposed to cover it. And he didn't. And I think that's why halfway through the first half, we made the change of pushing Mount over, because Aubameyang just didn't. I think that. Again, not everyone has to think that. But I went in on Lukaku for having 7 touches against Palace. Okay, it was 90 minutes, not 64, whatever it was for Aubameyang. But the fact that Aubameyang got hooked in part of the first sub against his former club, where he had this old big point to prove, for Broja, who Potter doesn't really want to use much anyway. Like, he uses him as a sub, but not like, it's rare that it brings him on with 60 something. It's usually like the 76-minute sub, Broja. So the fact that happened, I think, tells you enough about Aubameyang's performance. 8 touches, man. 8 touches. I know he could have done something if balls were delivered to him. Fair enough. But again, why does he not get any balls? Like, why is he excused for that? Lukaku wasn't, he isn't, in my opinion. Clutch, what about you?
I mean, let's go back. I know if you look at the chat right now, first of all, Logitech, stop talking about Ziyech. He will probably be sold in January. Don't worry about it. He's gone. So there's no point in bringing him up. He will get less minutes than Zakaria. But if you look at last year, right, and we talked about what Lukaku's biggest problem was, we never gave Lukaku the excuse of, hey, he just didn't get the passes. No, he just didn't move to receive the passes. Aubameyang was playing as a winger today. The winger has to come and get the ball. That's what wingers do. And he never did.
And he had one shot. One.
It's unexcusable to do that. It's unexcusable. I'm sorry. He was terrible. He gets -0, -100, everything you want. He was as bad as Lukaku. Unfortunately for him, he didn't have the 90 minutes as Lukaku had, but still.
Exactly.
You're playing in a more wide position.
People make this out like the no service thing, as if he played as a striker, but he didn't play as a striker, and that makes a big difference. Like, when I let you off a little bit for having no touches and not being involved. As a striker, okay, that can be acceptable in certain games. Like, there's been games this season where I'm like, I let Aubameyang off. I don't think he received a service today. But today, when you're playing as a winger, you're supposed to be part of the service. Like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. And he certainly wasn't flipping doing that. I mean, it was 0 out of 2 ground duels won. Accidentally clicked off it, my bad. 0 out of 0 aerial duels won. How can you not be in any aerial duel? What the fuck? Like, what? You're not even that short, man. I've never seen a striker that's not actually that short be that bad in the air. Honestly, Christian Pulisic is about 17 million times better in the air than Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. And that's shocking. Don't understand why we signed him. But hey, here we are. Kieran, do you think we're being harsh? Are you more on the side of coin where it's like he didn't get any service today? Or are you like, well, he wasn't a striker today, so it's not just about service then?
No, I think that the more I think about it, that service, he's not getting service argument is very flawed. He had 8 touches in 60 minutes. Broja came on and had almost double that in half an hour.
Yeah, that's
they were playing the same. They were playing the same position. Broja wanted to get the ball. Aubameyang didn't. He was lazy. He did make one good run, and he should have had a goal. And we will come on to the person who should have given him the goal in just a second. But apart from that, he did nothing. He looked like he didn't even want to play against your former club, against a manager who basically forced you out of the club. He's got a freaking Arsenal tattoo on his body. He should want to play and score and get the ball and make things happen, and he didn't want to do any of that. I understand people are viewing him as a striker, but he, as you said, he did not play as a striker today. And the fact that Broja had almost double his touches in half the amount of time proves that is a fault of Aubameyang and not of other players around him.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. What rating will you give him, mate? It's okay if you got higher than us. It's fine. You can stick true to yourself.
1, just because there is a player on the pitch who was still worse than him.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I guess put this up at a 0.5, but fair enough. See, Kai Havertz, we'll get to that now. You've been hinting at it on a few occasions like that. You think it was really bad. He was clearly really bad, but I don't think it was worse than Aubameyang. How can it be that he was high on the pitch than Aubameyang? How can he have 35 touches compared to Aubameyang's 8, and everyone say it was worse? Like, I know he messed it up every time he got the ball, but what's worse? Messing up when you get the ball, but at least putting yourself into a position to get the ball, or having the excuse, I couldn't ruin anything because I never got the ball. Yeah, because you never got into position to get the ball. So what's worse there? And to me, not moving, not getting the ball is worse than moving and then messing up. That's me. Again, I understand if people disagree with that, but again, I touched it on Mason Mount and Jorginho, where I'm like, in the 60% for passing as midfielders is shocking. When you're in the final third, that's when I let that off a bit more. Havertz has 65% ball pass completion, 11 out of 17. Is it good? By no means. But is it more understandable in the final third than it is for the midfielders? I think yes. But I would give him a 2, like I gave Ruben and like I gave Sterling. No, actually, I tell a lie. I give him a 1. I take it back. I give him a 1. Like Mason Mount. I give him that. because we kind of know what Kieran is going to say to some extent, but I do want to give him the chance to elaborate on it. I'll let you go first, though, Clutch. Do you think he was worse than Aubameyang? Do you think he was as bad as Aubameyang? What rating would you give him?
Well, don't get on Twitter because everybody's flaming Aubameyang for liking a post about Arsenal winning. So have fun with that.
Yeah.
No.
Guess who said let's not sign Aubameyang, the guy with the Arsenal tattoo? Guess who said that? Guess who got flamed for it in the summer? Well,
hey, you know my biases against Aubameyang. I've said it for a very long time now. He is a shocking player to buy, and Tuchel should have been fired immediately when he wanted to get him. Immediately.
Yeah, not give him the player first and then sack him. That makes no sense.
But as long as we're talking about Havertz, no, he's a 0. He's as bad as everybody else. I'm sorry. Aubameyang's getting away with one, having 0.5 here. Havertz will not get away with it. 0 has to be 0. Terrible. Like, he did more than Aubameyang, but every decision Kai Havertz made was bad. Every single one. There wasn't a single time he made a good decision. Not one. He could have cut back multiple different times.
I forgot that he was basically at fault for the goal. I will revert my statement. I still think he was better than Aubameyang in terms of play, but it still cost us the fucking goal, which Aubameyang had nothing to do with. So Havertz also gets a 0 for me. My bad.
Yes, that also happened. And it's just like, there was just so many different times Havertz was like in space, and then he was like trying to figure out what to do with the ball. Like, bro, your best position, you say, is behind the striker. The position behind the striker makes decisions. They're the ones that get the ball. That's what they're supposed to do. And you couldn't make a single decision all day. And the ones you did make were the wrong ones every time. So no, he gets a 0. He was terrible. Sorry. Bench him, Aubameyang and Mount next time. I don't care.
Yeah, well, we don't have any fucking players then, but
I'll play Ziyech. I don't care. Play Ziyech. I don't care anymore.
No, never Ziyech again.
My guy's posting videos of scoring against Chelsea. Like, you don't get lower than that. That's Lukaku levels of low. I can't lie. No wonder he's best mates with Lukaku. Does it surprise you? But yeah, just before I take it to you, Kieran, let's quickly talk about the goal as well. Again, one of the worst. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but at least I do. One of the worst corner goals I've ever seen anyone concede. Like, it's such a bad corner. Like, Sterling played that corner the other game after the fan was talking about it's behind and it distracted Sterling. I'm like, we literally distract our own players before corners. How stupid are our fans? And you just wanted to punch the guy in the face. I'm like, bro, stop filming and making TikToks. Just fucking help the team. My guy distracting our own players before taking a corner. I've never had anything so stupid in my whole life. But anyway, corner in. For some reason, I don't know, like Jorginho was following, I don't know who the Arsenal player was that was running towards the near post. I think that's probably what distracts Kai, because Kai is actually usually quite good at clearing corners at the near post. But he messed it up so hard. I don't know if he expected a flick from either of like Jorginho or the Arsenal player. I don't know. But in the end, he tried to clear the ball with his foot about up here, even though the ball was about down here. Like, he literally bounced underneath him as he had his foot on bloody chest height. Like, what are you doing, man? And then he literally got hooked in that second. Obviously, it was planned before we conceded, but still. Wow. You can't be doing that, man. You can't be doing that. But Kieran, I'll give you the floor. Say your piece on Kai Havertz.
I know you said that because he was more involved in, like, when we attacked, when the rare occasions we went forwards, he was more involved than Aubameyang. That means, in your opinion, he was better. But he literally killed every attack we had. Either he stopped and just like stood there until he got tackled or lost the ball, or all their defenders had got back, or the times he actually did go through, he did something completely stupid. I'm getting angry thinking about it. The shot at Ramsdale, Aubameyang, who is a poacher, is.
Do you think it was a shot? Because I thought because obviously Saliba got there like just before he crossed. Was it Saliba or Gabriel? One of the two. I thought maybe I was being nice to him. I thought the reason he didn't get the ball across to Aubameyang was because Saliba was coming in and he's like, fuck, I need to get it around him. Didn't. But he probably should have just tried to cross anyway. Would have at least gotten us a corner. Not just hit it at the goalkeeper, I guess. But go on.
I mean, I think it was counted as a shot on the...
Yeah, it must be, because otherwise we didn't have a shot on target, so that must be the shot.
Yeah. I mean, it was just... Unless Aubameyang just ran into the box and didn't say anything, they were about 3 yards away from each other. How did he not hear? He just wasn't focusing. He wasn't paying attention, and he's just wasted what would have been an open goal effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he'd done something similar before where Mount and Aubameyang were running into the box and he just blasted the ball about 40 yards over everyone's heads. And it went out for a throw-in, I think. What was that about? And the goal is terrible. It's so basic. And that is the reason we've lost at the end of the day. We have lost because Havertz has not cleared a ball which basically rolled straight at him from a corner. Yeah. It's terrible. He was the worst. I like Havertz sometimes. Recently, he's been terrible, but I think he has flashes of good. Today, it was the worst performance I've ever seen him have. And he was the worst player. I know I said Loftus-Cheek was the worst player. I mean, we've got a lot worse as we've gone forward. And my ratings have got lower, maybe because my anger is building. But Havertz was worse than Loftus-Cheek. He killed every attack we went forward, and he was at fault for the goal, even though he's a bloody attacker, so he shouldn't. I don't know, 0.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I do almost want to still give Kai a 1 because I disagree that he's any worse than Aubameyang, and I find it almost a bit harsh that he's the only real 0. But hey, here we are. It's a democracy, isn't it? But you know, one thing I have just noticed after Pice tweeted it, and now I've looked at it myself. Raheem Sterling won 3 out of 13 ground duels. I mean, how fucking shit is that? Against his old teammate in Zinchenko. He should know the guy. 3 out of 13. You know how shit that is?
It's Alonso levels of shit.
Like, honestly, if I'm Gareth Southgate, I'm leaving him out the squad just for that. Like, that's diabolical. What did I give him? A 2. 3 out of 13, man. Because I'm honestly, like, I saw 2 good things Sterling did, 2 passes. Am I really giving him a point for a pass? Because that's essentially what I'm doing, because I can't think of any other good thing he did other than those 2 passes. And I gave him a 2. So where did my 2 come from? I don't know. So I'm lowering that to like a 1. So Sterling gets a 2 overall, but hey, I just wanted to throw it in there because I found out that he won 3 out of 13. Like, sorry. I hope no one else finds this okay, because that to me is baffling. But let's really get the sub.
Sorry. Sorry. No, never mind. You go.
No, absolutely no problem.
Okay. I was going to say, Zinchenko actually looked a bit shaky at times, so that is really disappointing, that stat. I mean, if there was anywhere where we were actually making progress, it was on that right wing, and that 3 out of 13 is terrible.
No, exactly that. All I was trying to say is I'm just looking at when the subs came on and who the subs exactly were, because my brain never remembers.
64th. Oh, you already got it. Never mind.
Yeah, I got it. And then it was Mount and Loftus-Cheek. I guess I'll put Pulisic here and then Kovacic there. I guess we should probably shift it around after. Now, do any of you think that any of these subs deserve a rating, or shall we give an NA to all of them? Because
NA to all of them.
Yeah. Broja tried. It certainly, you saw a difference between Broja being down and Aubameyang being down in terms of effort.
He did that nice... some nice feet in the box on the left wing, and then he got across it, but there was no one there.
There was somebody there. He just missed it. He got it to Gallagher, and Gallagher just...
Yeah, I think he blasted it a bit too hard for how close Gallagher was to him. I think making it near on impossible for Gallagher to do anything with it. I don't think he aimed at Gallagher purposely. I think he just got it around the guy and without looking just smashed it in the middle of the box, hoping someone would be there, which I understand. A lot of wingers do that often. But the fact that was literally the only moment any of our attackers did anything useful in a one-on-one situation, like Sterling didn't, Havertz didn't, Aubameyang didn't, Mount didn't, Ruben didn't, none of them had, other than that one moment of Broja. Literally shocking. But is that enough to give them a rating? I would honestly give them all an NA. But an NA in the sense of Gallagher and Broja were still better than the 2 they came on for. So I'll give them that, I suppose. And Pulisic and Kovacic were... I mean, Kovacic, even though he only came in the 78th minute, I almost want to give him a rating. I almost want to give him a 7 with a star. With a star for UK information, subs get a star rating, so it's not comparable to the others because obviously they only played, 12 minutes. So obviously it's very different. But as a sub... considering only 12 minutes, the guy played 12 minutes and we looked trillion times better. So for that reason on its own, I'm going to give him a 7 with a star. That's what I'm going to say. And Pulisic, honestly, other than the one foul he made, which he thought wasn't a foul, I don't remember him doing anything. I'm not sure if that's just me, but I can't.
He had a nice he had like a nice behind the back pass to Cucurella that I think Gallagher ended up messing up in the end.
Okay, fair enough. Well, it was one thing then. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing he did. He did decent defensive work, then caused a foul. Then he had a behind the back pass. And
what is it behind the back pass? What do you mean?
Where he where you like roll the ball backwards and behind you? He was on the touchline.
Yeah, like a back heel flick.
Yeah, it was like a back heel.
I know what you mean. I wouldn't know what to call it either. So
I don't know.
there you go. Okay. Kieran, would you give any of these three that I gave an NA a rating? And what about Kovacic?
No, I don't. It'd be difficult to rate them. Really, we were absolutely terrible in the last 20 minutes, half an hour. So, I think with Kovacic,
we were better than we were the first 70.
Yeah, I mean, actually, really, in the last 10 minutes, we did nothing, even though we needed a goal. We literally did nothing.
Like we got a bit okay, like 20 minutes or 15 minutes to go. As soon as cover came on, at least, like around the 78, 80-minute mark, it got okay. And then it just died again. And nearly Arsenal scored 2 on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, they should have scored more, really.
I agree with that. You were going to say something about Kovacic? What were you
It just raises the question. I don't know if we're going to talk about Potter after this, but it just raises the question why... I know he's managing injuries, but this is a big game, and we've only got one other Premier League game after this before the World Cup. Unless Kovacic said, "Don't play me because I don't want to be injured at the World Cup," why did he only play 10 minutes? He is arguably our best player and our most important midfielder. Why did he only play 10 minutes when we were getting absolutely slaughtered?
I honestly don't know. I asked myself the same question. I mean, Silva and Chalobah were both okay. But I also don't know where Koulibaly is. Like I know Koulibaly has been rash in certain moments, but other than those rash moments, he's been the rock that we needed. Like the only one that comes even close to somehow helping us replace Rudiger, and he's not involved. I don't get it all the same. I don't get it all the same. Clutch, do you want to give Kovacic a rating, or do you want to give all of them an NA?
All of them an NA.
Okay. Comment NA then. Absolutely no problem. And like Kieran just touched on, we will get to Graham Potter now. I'll put him, I guess, down here with Jorginho, might as well. There's a lot of things to unravel here, honestly. The lineup. Now, obviously, certain things are forced upon him. Azpi, Cucurella. But Ruben, not Kovacic. Sterling, not Pulisic. Havertz was okay against Zagreb, so I understand it. But Aubameyang against Arsenal, I also understand that to some extent. Why not Gallagher? Gallagher has been decent every time he's played recently. But also, again, we looked tired to me. We looked lethargic. We didn't look up for it. Some people are going to say, oh, the manager didn't motivate the team. Now, to me, that doesn't exist. Now, it's nice if the manager can do that. But excuse me, we're paying these players hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. These players are doing the best job in the entire fucking world. These players are playing against also their biggest rivals. These players are playing for their own pride. We're now, 7th, 8th? God knows where we are. 13 points behind Arsenal. It's not up to the manager to motivate these players. These players are adults, professional footballers. They are supposed to motivate them fucking selves. And I said that for every manager. I said that when there was people questioning that for Tuchel, people questioning that for Lampard, people questioning that for Sarri. Whoever the manager is, I will always say that. Players are supposed to motivate themselves. Absolutely. If anything, you should criticize Azpi more for that than Potter as the captain, if anything. But to me, looking tired, looking lethargic, we had a chance to rest players. In the end, we got a 3-month injury from one of the 2 left backs that we had. I almost want to, even though it has nothing directly to do with today, I almost want to lower Potter's rating for today because of Wednesday. Because how can we look so tired in such a big game? Like, how did we look more up for it against Zagreb in a game that did not matter a single bit than we did against Arsenal? Like, I cannot see that. I cannot see why we don't use a left flank. I cannot see why, if we're playing, like, what's the point in a back four if neither fullback is told to attack? Like, then just play a back three then. Like, if that's what you're going to do, just play a back three. What's the point of a back four? Because if you're playing a back four and tell all of them to stay back, that's actually more defensive than a back three with wing backs, because the wing backs would always push no matter when it is, right? So the wing backs would always be involved somewhat in attacking, even an Azpi. But if you're playing a back four and all four of them have to stay defensively, that's more defensive than a back three is actually, when you think about that, right? So, like, what are you doing? Honestly, what are you doing? And I understand the injuries make it very difficult. I completely understand. And there's nothing you can do about that. And there's no time to train. But I'm like, bro, we're playing Arsenal. And I know you're saying there will be ups and downs. It's part of the process. I get that. And you're right with saying that. But certain games you just need to go into not to be part of your process. Certain games you need to go into and try to get a result. If that result needs to be a draw, get a draw. If that result is get a fucking win, get a win. But we did okay in the first half in the grand scheme of things. Now, we played badly, attacked badly, didn't create nothing. But we're playing a team that's, honestly, as much as it hurts me to say that, especially with our current injuries, a team that's better than us. So, okay, we made sure we didn't concede, made sure we didn't allow them to have chances. Fair enough. It worked, I guess, in that sense. Then, obviously, we concede a stupid corner goal, which shouldn't happen, and that's not at all Potter's fault. It's not even Anthony Barry's fault, who's in charge of the set pieces. But what is then Potter's fault, and the players' fault, of course, which is why the ratings are so low, especially from Jorginho and upwards, is we were then 1-0 down. And those efforts, if you can even name them efforts, to try and score after, to still get back into the game, that was, in my opinion, the most embarrassing thing about the whole day. The fact that our wannabe attempts of attacking and getting back into it was a complete shit show and a complete shambles. And I like Gallagher, but you bring on Gallagher for Havertz or Aubameyang, whichever way you want to call it. Sorry. We're tracing a goal, we're chasing, and you're bringing a midfielder on for an attacker. Sorry? Like, what is that? If it, like, Gallagher's had huge chances the last few games. Like, Gallagher's been good, but his finishing has been awful. We would have had more points recently had he been better at finishing. Well, I say more points. It wouldn't have mattered on a few occasions, but you still see what I'm trying to say. And you bring him on for an attacker when we're trying to chase a goal. Sorry, what? What did I give him against Brighton? I think I gave him like against Zakaria, even though we won, I gave him like a 3 because I was so annoyed at us not rotating. And I'm so annoyed by it that I'm still annoyed by it today because I think it's part of the reason why we were so fucking slow. I'm going to give him a 2 because I guess it was partly to do with being okay defensively against a good team. But that effort, again, I don't even want to call it effort, of trying to score after is an absolute embarrassment to me. Kieran, what about you?
I completely agree on the anger from last game, the team we put out in a game that didn't matter. I'm just looking at it now. Apart from Koulibaly, Chilwell, and who got injured, and Zakaria, it's the same team we started today. Why?
Exactly.
Why? That is an absolutely shambolic decision. The game did not matter at all. Arsenal, who played on Thursday, and I think they actually needed to win to top the group. They've only got 3 players that started on Thursday that started again today. Why has he made that decision? Why was there no youth in the squad the other day? Why was there barely any rotation? It's so stupid. And then today we come into the game, our formation is a complete mess. As you said, the left side is non-existent. We didn't attack on the left at all. I mean, we barely attacked. We were completely outclassed. Arteta outclassed Potter tactically. That tactically they were better than us, no question.
Absolutely.
That is something that should not be happening. Even with injuries, our tactics should. I mean, unless they're being implemented wrong, which I don't think is the case in this game. I just think that tactically it was poor decisions.
That's the difficult one, isn't it? To really know for sure whether we were supposed to attack on the left more or not. That's the really difficult one because I don't know. Because we did it against Zagreb in the same setup with the midfield 3, Havertz as a kind of a centre forward, and then 2 wingers that got a bit like Liverpool with Salah and Mane from the coming inside from the wide area. We did that against Zagreb and it worked okay. I understand, much worse team and everything, but still, so we still had that position and took it up in the same system. So why didn't we do it today? That's why I'm so not sure if it's a instruction or not. And it might well be, but I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? You're going, Kieran. My bad.
No, I kind of know what you mean. I just think it was a complete disaster from Potter today. I am sympathetic, especially the Reece James injury, that wasn't his fault. The Chilwell injury, it's a combination of manager and player. Why Chilwell's busting his arse to run to a ball in the 93rd minute? Oh my! It's just a disaster that he's now out for 3 months potentially. Cucurella's not been great at all, and he's now going to be our only left back. We've not got a right back until after the World Cup. We're going to get absolutely torn apart next week against Newcastle. They've just won 4-1 away at Southampton. I don't know if we'd beat Southampton, let alone Newcastle. Our game next week is going to be... It's so important that we win, and I do genuinely think we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the tactics today were bad. The player choices was bad. We were just beaten all ends up, and the manager has to take a lot of that responsibility because we should not be getting tactically outclassed. So I would say, he's as bad as Havertz, so 0.
Fair enough. Maybe I was being nice. I don't know. My logic was, I guess we were defensively okay, and that's partly on him, so that's why I gave him that benefit. But to be honest, maybe I'll even be swayed. Absolutely. Just quickly, something I should probably mention, because I forgot that it just running. The Jorginho poll ended up on 45% of a 4.5. So I guess that lowers the rating on screen down to a 5. Fair enough. If you guys think so, you guys think so. Do I want to give you a rating for Potter, a poll for Potter? Because I'm pretty sure you're going to say 0 anyway. So, and I presume Clutch will as well. So, Clutch, will you agree with Kieran on a 0 for Graham Potter? Will you say something different? What are you going to say?
Well, to start off with, if Potter is so worried about injuries and whatnot, that certain players don't play and whatnot, like Kovacic, then you can't start your main squad against Zagreb midweek. Yeah. Like, that's stupid. I'm over here in America, and I'm 2,000 miles away, and I know that's stupid. Like, it just makes no sense. There's so many mistakes. Again, halftime, we just, let's change the tactics. We knew these players weren't up for it. Aubameyang wasn't up for it. Havertz wasn't up for it. Why did neither of them get subbed off? Neither of them. Why? Is it because you don't have anybody on the bench? But no, you're going to play Aubameyang as a winger when you have a natural-born winger on the bench. Crazy. It's crazy what we do in this club. And no, everybody, you should be very mad at Potter today because today he said, our players fought for everything. They gave everything. No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Not even one.
How do we lose every second ball if we fight, man?
Like, and that's what really pisses me off. That was an actual quote for him, by the way. He said, we left everything out on the pitch today. No, you didn't. There's so much more that could be left out there. If you're telling me Sterling gave everything he had, then City just made a massive deal on us. Probably even better than we did off of Hazard. It's crazy. I'm sorry. It's just, no. Today was terrible because of him. 0. I'm sorry. Everything we did was wrong. Aubameyang, if you're going to start Aubameyang, he should only start through the middle. He should never be a winger. He's never been a winger since Dortmund days.
He played more games on the wing for Arsenal than he did a striker, actually. But obviously a few years ago as well.
That's when they had Lacazette, yeah. But it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, we need to... I'm a very big proponent of making changes before the disaster happens, and it seems like he never does. Disaster happens, we get scored on, and something we shouldn't have got scored on. It's not his fault.
Other than against United.
It's not his fault. But every time I'm like, okay, I said if we don't make subs at halftime, it's just criminal. We did.
The only thing I will say on today's basis, I don't think subs would have changed anything. Because I don't think the subs are enough better than what we had on the starting pitch. And I don't think the formation was necessarily the issue. The issue was not using the left side at all and playing a back four and telling the wing-backs, the full-backs both to defend. But he wouldn't have changed that necessarily, would he? Because
I don't know.
Then we'd probably get slaughtered.
Here's what I think.
I personally, usually I agree with you on this, the sub thing. But today I'm like, what would that have changed? Do you know what I mean? Like, bring Pulisic on for Aubameyang and then what? We still wouldn't have given the... Like, even Sterling, he got the ball more and stuff. He was still not involved, really, in the grand scheme of things. So that same thing would have happened to Pulisic, even if he was on the wing instead of Aubameyang. And I think that wouldn't have changed, even if you made that change. Maybe a Zakaria for Loftus-Cheek, if Zakaria can replicate what did against Zagreb. Maybe that would have changed something. But we all knew he wasn't going to do that.
Maybe. But here's my thoughts, right? So players are going to want these opportunities, right? They're going to want the minutes. The more minutes they're going to be given, the harder they're going to try. Now, that might not be so true because of the World Cup right now, so players might not care a little bit, and I think a lot of them are coasting until they do get to that World Cup. But you still have to give them that time. If Pulisic gets 40 minutes or whatever and he doesn't make anything of it, that's on him. That's it. It's on him. But that hunger has to be there. You have to give them that opportunity to show them, are you hungry enough to take this opportunity? We don't do that. It's Havertz, Mount, Aubameyang, Sterling are guaranteed to start the next 3 games. I promise you that. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter what Pulisic does. It doesn't matter what Gallagher does. Doesn't matter what Broja does. They will just play. And you can't have that. Sterling is too comfortable right now. He thinks he's above and beyond everybody. You're not. You've been the worst player that we've had in the attack, other than Havertz. I'm sorry. You need benched. Havertz needs benched. Mounts needs benched. But we just don't have the players to replace them. So you need to give opportunities where they are so these players understand. I can actually get benched. I might lose my spot. And we don't do that. All 0, by the way.
I'll just add, I completely agree with that Sterling, what you just said about Sterling. The fact that he knows he's not going to be benched. He literally does not care at all. He just wants to score himself and look good for himself. He even said when he joined, I think he said that he believes he can win the Ballon d'Or. Well, you're not going to fucking win you're not going to win the Ballon d'Or like that.
No, you can swear, don't worry.
He's playing absolutely shambolically, and I completely agree. Pulisic should be playing more, and I do think today, I agree also that the subs wouldn't make much of a difference because the tactics were so absolutely shocking.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in at the moment. It's a tough position. I will change my 2 for Potter to 1, giving us a 0.5 at the end. Like I say, I still think we were all right defensively against a very good team. That's why I don't want to go quite 0. But I still also understand your guys' 0, absolutely. You guys think Raheem is legit contractually obliged to play?
No,
I hope not.
No, I think he just knows that he makes enough money that we're going to have to play him, and there's nothing that said any different. He's not been benched for performance yet. Lukaku got benched for performance. It took 10 games. Don't get that twisted.
Yeah, it took us long enough.
But he still got it. Raheem has not gotten it, and he needs to get it. He needs to understand. And you know what? That might make him shut down. Honest to God, he might say, you know what? If that's how you're going to play me, then I'm done. And that's fine. Sell him. I don't care. You need somebody who's all in. He's not all in. Sorry. Right now, he's just not. And Almiron is way closer to the Ballon d'Or than he is ever going to be at this point.
Yeah. Fucking Almiron scored again. Did he score more than 1 today? I know he scored 1.
He scored 1 and got injured, so we'll see how that happens next week.
Well, that is a positive for us, even though we never wish injury upon anyone, of course. Richard with another donation from earlier, basically just joking around, but yeah, pay me 100k a week, and if I'm not on the pitch, I will be the best water boy, towel boy you have ever seen. And yeah, that's exactly what I mean earlier when I'm like, can Matt Potter motivate the team? I don't know if he can or if he can't, but it shouldn't be down to it. Again, these players, and even if you didn't earn that much money, you're allowed to be a footballer full time. You work 2 hours a day most days. I know you need, obviously, traveling is a lot, I understand, but still, you're only doing that for 10 years. How many other people work and have to travel for work? Do you know what I mean? Other people do that and don't get paid 100k, 200k, 300k a week. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's not talk about bloody motivation.
I wish I got paid 100k to not do my job.
Exactly that. And then like your boss say after you left everything on the pitch out there after you didn't do your job. Do you know what I mean? This is the last thing I want to touch on before we round this one out. And it's a difficult one for me because I didn't want Tuchel sacked as such. I saw it coming and I thought it would be inevitable. Now, I know Tuchel's quote since then seem a bit different, but I'm like, bro, you didn't act the way you're speaking now. But I also understand that from his perspective a little bit. But this is a difficult question because nothing really, if we're honest, nothing really. But the thing about that is, would we have said the same thing after we just beat Milan 3-0, Wolves 3-0, Milan 2-0? Would we have said the same thing about nothing has improved? Because yeah, against Villa, we scraped the win and we were poor and still won 2-0. So that one doesn't count. But against Milan at home, Wolves at home, and Milan away, we were fucking brilliant. And we were really good at a lot of things. And then Reece James get injured. Now, of course, it's a problem that we rely upon one player so much. That has two reasons. Number one, he's that good. Number two, the rest of the players are not that good, really. So nothing has improved, but I'm not sure if that you can use that directly as a criticism of Graham Potter. Again, we play every 3 days. How is he going to improve anything? Now, people are going to say, well, Tuchel improved things when he came instead of Lampard. But I think people need to understand the difference in football. There's a big difference in improving things in a pragmatic way, the way Thomas Tuchel did. And Lampard, obviously, we were way too open, constantly counter-attacked and constantly ruined while still being not good enough in attack. What Tuchel did then is like, okay, these lot are not good enough in attack, so just make sure we put enough defenders on the pitch so we actually start defending well, and then we can either win 1-0 or just draw. Do you know what I mean? That's basically how the lineup, his 3-4-3 against Wolves happened. We don't play okay, get a 0-0 draw, we keep it going, and it works. Especially Rudiger looks like the best defender literally of all time. Obviously, Thiago Silva, we know about Thiago Silva, and then with Christensen and Azpilicueta at right centre back, like it worked. It was fine. Reece James, obviously. That's different to going from pragmatism to playing offensively. That's like, it's literally the opposite. And it's much easier to go from trying something offensive to going pragmatic. Because when you have a team, especially a team like a Chelsea, who already knew about playing a back three from the Conte days, and a lot of the teams that we had when Tuchel joined knew how the back three worked. So this wasn't a system that they were completely new to. This wasn't a system that they had never heard of, right? We were basically just putting in a system. Okay, we have more defenders. We have good players, like especially when Kante is fit, and you have a fit Jorginho, Kante, Kovacic. You have those three, and you can almost rotate them depending on opponent. Those three, you have a good midfield, as long as you don't require a real DM. But when you play the way we did, be a bit defensive, then you don't need a real DM, because then your whole team is defensive enough that you don't need that. But then when you want to be more offensive, that's when you need a real DM. That's when you miss it. But now Potter's trying to change that from pragmatic to more offensive. Now, not again today, and we're getting dominated too much, absolutely. But he's not trying that. He's trying to be more direct. That's why we have at the moment so many misplaced passes, because we're trying to be more direct, but our players are badly out of form. The best players are also injured. And then obviously things pile up upon each other, like it's an amount of games, players getting scared of being injured for the World Cup, probably feeling, it's like, oh, Reece is injured, poor guy missed the World Cup. Oh, Chile's injured, poor guy missed the World Cup. All these things add up to make you not good. And it's a problem, and Potter should be doing better at things. Absolutely. Like, that's why we gave him 0.5 today. I gave him a 1, the boys gave him a 0. That's why I was so harsh on him against Zagreb and against United and against Brentford and against Villa. But I don't think it's as simple as what's actually improved since Tuchel left, because how do you know how bad it could have gotten had Tuchel stayed? And that's why I think the question is a little bit of a skew when we're like, okay, what got better? But what could have got worse that didn't get worse, I guess. I don't even want to know the situation we'd be in if Tuchel had this amount of injuries. Like, who would Tuchel even be playing? What would he be doing? He'd probably be starting Bettinelli at left centre-back. Do you know what I mean? Because, well, no, he probably would have also played Cucurella there. But would it have been any better there? I don't know. But, Kieran, I give it to you first. Sorry, Clutch, was that you?
To be fair, Kepa would have never had the resurgence and been saving all that. And we still would have been playing terrible Mendy for a while, and that probably would have lost us more games. So,
yeah, that's an interesting one as well, because obviously Mendy got injured. That's why Kepa already got his spot under Tuchel, but because of Mendy's injury, would have been very interesting had Tuchel stayed. If, once Mendy was back, whether he would have been straight back in. Wouldn't be surprised by it, but at the same time, who knows? Because Kepa did play well. And sorry, this comment by Fantasy PGA Tour is also a point to make. It's not just Tuchel leaving, is it? It's nearly everyone behind the scenes leaving. That's okay to mention. Fair enough. But does that affect our day-to-day footballing ability? Does Petr Cech being here, does Marina being here change how we play on the pitch? I don't think so. Petr maybe, but I mean, apparently Petr Cech was the guy that told what's his face, Tuchel, to play Mendy in all these big games. Like, even though Kepa warranted it at the time, Club World Cup, Mendy came back from AFCON, was it? Where he came back from? Yeah, I think so. And he told him, no, you've got to play Mendy in the final, where it's like, it's harsh on Kepa. The League Cup final, harsh on Kepa. FA Cup final, harsh on Kepa.
What does that end up doing in the long run? You start losing the locker room. Players stop playing for the manager. That's how you get players in trouble, or that's how you get managers in trouble.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if Cech leaving, if those are the things he did. Even if he backs Mendy and likes Mendy, I get that. But if he has that influence, I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best thing. Now, of course, you can say like, you know, the head physio left and the head of the medical department left. Yeah, but I mean, the injuries had nothing to do with that. And our injury record was fucking dreadful before that already. So, you know what I mean? But Kieran, what are your thoughts in terms of on this question? Like, do you see what I know? I rambled on about this for ages now. I do almost apologize. I have a lot of things to say today, it seems. It helps when we're finally streaming in a normal hour of the day and not like at 1 a.m. after late kickoffs. But do you, like, obviously when the question is asked as bluntly as that, what has improved? You have to almost say nothing, not much. Like maybe Chalobah looks better at the moment, but otherwise, what has? Nothing. But I do still think that there is reasons for that, which is why I don't think one can just sit here and say, yeah, Potter is now immediately not good enough. Again, look at the team we lost to today. Arteta didn't look good enough for 2 years straight. Now look at them. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, he learned from Pep Guardiola, but Potter is also no idiot. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. But Kieran, what are your thoughts on this whole debate?
I think it's difficult to judge what's improved because of the Reece James injury. Like you said, we did. I mean, Milan are a bit shaky anyway, but we did play very well against them, and that was. But you could also attribute that to new manager bounce still, because that was what his fourth or fifth game. Those around that time.
Okay, yeah. Fair.
The Reece James injury is a big one, and I think it does lose a lot of like attacking threat that Potter wants in the team from the wide defenders. Like Azpilicueta obviously cannot do the same job that Reece James has been doing. So it is difficult to judge that. But you do also have to bear in mind that when Tuchel was manager, he lost Reece James and Chilwell, and we completely fell apart as well. So it's very, very similar. We just need this World Cup to come. We need our players. Oh, please, Reece James does not play at the World Cup. I know he wants to, but please. It also almost makes me want England to get knocked out soon. I mean, obviously, yeah. I don't, but I just don't want him to play at that World Cup, because if he gets re-injured, it's going to be an absolute disaster for the rest of our season. He is our most important player. So that's why I think we do have to. Obviously, we're going to give Potter time, and I think it's pretty clear from the new board that Potter is going to be given time. Hopefully, that doesn't mean we can just play like shit, but we should give him time. I'm not sure it's fair to judge him on that question. Please tell me one thing that has improved, because we lost our best player to injury. And
not even just one best player, like multiple best players.
Kante out as well.
Kante, Kovacic not being fully fit, and you lose Fofana, who you just signed for 80 million. It was like we lost 2 defenders for free this summer, in Christensen and Rudiger. We replaced them for 115 odd million pounds. And then one is long-term injured, and the other one was injured for a few weeks and then isn't used. You're like, well, so basically we've lost Rudiger and Christensen and didn't replace them. Well, no fucking shit. Are we shit? But you imagine last year someone tells you, okay, you're gonna lose Rudiger and Christensen, and you're not gonna have replacements because they're injured. Well, we'd be terrified the second anyone tells us that, no matter who the manager is. So again, zigzag. Nah, you get blocked. My guy just said Reece James is overrated. Excuse yourself, put yourself in the bin, and never come back out. Who are you? Like, what is that? I've never had anything more ridiculous in my whole life. Bloody hell. Anyway, Clutch, anything you want to add to this whole? Has anything, like, I mean, you can answer the question. If there is anything you have that has improved, please tell us.
Here's the deal. Was Potter ever going to be tactically better than Thomas Tuchel? No. Unfortunately, Thomas Tuchel is one of the best tactical managers in the world. The problem is that Tuchel seems to not understand. Is I know he in his recent thing, oh, they loved me, we loved each other. Apparently they didn't, because they stopped playing for you. You lost the dressing room, bro. And that's why you got fired. Nothing more, nothing less.
Although when I see then a few performances under Graham Potter, if we're blaming the reason for being bad under Tuchel for him losing the dressing room, what is the reason now? Because we're still playing equally as badly, if we're honest. So if that was the reason then, what's the reason now?
And here's where the one place you can improve that we aren't improving, that's really starting to piss me off with Potter. You have players who are willing to play again. And you're going to have to use them, whether you like it or not. You can sell Pulisic next January. You can sell Ziyech next summer. You can sell Gallagher, all these players that were left out in the cold. You can sell them if you want. But right now, since you have to use them and they are seemingly wanting to fight for a place, let them fight for the place. Stop playing Sterling if you don't have to. If it's not a huge game and you don't need to play him, or even Sterling's still playing as bad as he is, drop him. He'll be all right. And if he's not, that's on him. That's not on you. You need to have these players understand that you are fighting for a place. If you want to stay here, fight for it. Havertz isn't fighting for it. Mount's not fighting for it because they know Mount's not going anywhere. We're not selling Mount in the next 5 years. It's not happening. Drop him. Make him understand that you have consequences for bad play. They don't have consequences. And that's what we're doing right now. That's what we need to do. And that's the only place you can really improve right now. And we're not doing it.
The problem you have is if you drop them and then whoever plays instead of them is also bad, that only does the opposite. Because that then proves to them, like they are dropped and they realize, shit, I'm dropped. But then someone else plays instead of them. And if they then play even worse or at least as bad, number one, the main ones will automatically come back in because then you're like, well, why would I keep the main guy out if they're equally as bad as the other guys? But that will then prove and like, well, what's the word I'm looking for?
Say Sterling is bad for 3 games more. We drop him for Pulisic. Pulisic is bad for that 1 game. Keep playing Pulisic. Give him 2 or 3 more
I
games.
agree with that. But say Pulisic is also bad for 3 games. What does that tell Sterling? That doesn't make it.
It tells him I can still be dropped. I can still not play. Yeah, at that point, he needs to understand.
But you then know for a fact that he will come back in eventually because the other guys are taking the chance either. And that's the problem you have. When you leave players out for players that aren't good either, it doesn't make anything better because you don't get that extra motivation because they're like, well, he should be playing anyway. I don't need to try any harder. But then they're also all a bit pissed off because I'm dropped, even though he's not any better than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I guess the problem is that right now I'm seeing Pulisic actually be better than most of our players and still riding the bench. So that's kind of, you're going to lose Pulisic soon again. And if you lose him again, then if you need him, if Sterling or somebody gets injured, you're not going to have him. So it's good to try to balance that. And I think that's where Zidane was actually really good. I don't think Zidane is actually a great tactical manager. He's just one of the best managers I've ever seen in my life.
Absolute nightmare at Chelsea. We have nowhere near the good enough players to work with Zidane. Zidane, at least in my opinion, obviously we haven't seen him manage anyone other than Real Madrid B and Real Madrid. But to me, he's so good with players because he understands players and he understands pressure and he understands how good players work because he was such a good player. So if you give him players that aren't that good, just look at Thierry Henry. There's a reason why he's not a good manager at the moment. Even Frank Lampard. Now, Lampard is kind of learning now through that by being at someone like Everton. But I think especially at Chelsea, where like you're kind of aiming for the top, but you don't have the players for the top, I think that's when it becomes a real shit show. So that I want us to never go anywhere near a manager like Zidane, honestly. But it's
agreed.
There you go. Right, boys, this has been a long stream. Now, just because and we have another super chat. Richard, appreciate it. I just wanted to, have a chill afternoon or Sunday, but, we'll stay for you. We have players play well, then get benched. The next game for the players playing like garbage has been a repeating theme. I see that. I mean, the Zakaria is maybe a bad example because he didn't seem fit at all. But still, players play well, whether it's Pulisic against Wolves, doesn't see the light of day for like multiple games in a row. Then you're like, what the fuck? Broja plays well, doesn't see the light of day for ages. Then Gallagher doesn't play a lot, then plays well, and doesn't see the light of day after that. The only one you can say that actually did keep his place after playing well was Chilwell, but no, who knows whether that would have happened because he only got the chance when Fofana got injured. Would he have even got the chance otherwise? Who knows? But it is most sadly a problem. I'm not going to let you guys answer this because I know for a fact you agree with this anyway. But yeah, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round this one out. Please do check out Chelsea FC. Can I talk? ChelseaFC365.com, of which Kieran is a writer, obviously Pice's website. So please do check that out. Check out Clutch's Twitter, which should be linked down in the description. Check out Kieran's Twitter as well, although if I'm honest, Kieran, I'm not sure if you use Twitter much or not, but it's linked anyway. So if people want to check Kieran out, maybe you follow him and that makes him be more active. Who knows? But
I do use Twitter.
There you go. Very good. Very good. So, well, get involved. Get involved. Ladies and gentlemen, again, subscribe if you haven't already. Still 150 if you're here. I appreciate you all that are watching. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers. Every new subscriber counts. So please do hit that big red subscribe button down below. Smash the like button on your way out. Let's get to, I don't know how many we're on now. Can't bother to check. So just smash the like button, please. Just really helps me out spread these videos out to more people. It doesn't cost you any money or any time. Just click before you leave. Do you know what I mean? It's just 2 clicks. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. Bloody hell, give me the World Cup as soon as possible. And I'll see you next time.